It is a beautiful Tuesday evening in New York City, and we've got baseball for you, a pretty big game. Now, everybody said there's no salary cap in baseball, but there are caps in baseball, and the Yankees are giving them away tonight. And we're giving you baseball as My Nine presents New York Yankees baseball. It's the defending world champion New York Yankees against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in the first game of a two-game set from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Yankees Baseball, along with Paul O'Neill and Ken Singleton. I'm Michael Kay. Yesterday was an off day for the Yankees, a good weekend for them. They took 2 out of 3 from their closest pursuers, the Tampa Bay Rays. But they won on Sunday, but it was a big loss as well involved.
Yeah, 9-5 victory for the Yankees on Sunday, but they lost Andy Pettitte in the process. Andy struggled in the first inning. He gave up 3 runs, but was starting to settle down. And then all of a sudden, in the third inning, he comes up with a groin injury. Andy Pettitte, you could see him flexing his leg. He had to come out of the ball game. Jorge Posada calling for Joe Girardi and G. Monahan. And Andy is headed to the disabled list.
And they actually put him on the DL, and they called him Jonathan Albaladeo to bolster the bullpen tonight. But on Saturday, it'll be Sergio Mitre who's going to start in place of Andy Pettitte. Yankee GM Brian Cashman said the Yankees are not looking to make a trade for a starter. It is going to be Sergio Mitre. All right, so since we're talking about pitching, let's take a look at the pitching matchup tonight. Brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Sean O'Sullivan will get the start for the Angels. He has a 1.29 ERA. Phil Hughes, the All-Star, 11-2 with a 3.65. And Paul, when Phil Hughes started before the All-Star break, he did very well.
Well, he got off to an unbelievable start, and then he kind of got human for a while. But his last start before the break, you see early in the game, a good curveball, had a strikeout curveball going. You see he also had a good enough fastball to throw by people. One of his better outings as of late.
Well, they obviously want him to continue that, especially with the loss of Andy now. Now, this also could be a game where Alex Rodriguez with 2 home runs could get to 600. We'll talk about that chase with Paul O'Neill next on segment 2 right here on My Nine. Everybody, a couple of moments away from the Yankees against the Angels' first pitch. Ken Singleton will rejoin us in just a moment. That's Paul O'Neill. I'm Michael Kay. Now, the Yankees against the Angels, that's the main part of our story. But the big sidebar is that Alex Rodriguez, Paul, 2 home runs away from history.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the home run ball is what fans come to see at the ballpark. I mean, the things he has put up in his career, you just realize that the type of name you see is 598th home run there. The power that he's displayed his whole career to put himself in a position to get to that infamous 600 club, and then it gets real steep. Every rung you go up until the top, but he has a chance to be at the top. Who knows?
Looking to be only the 7th man to hit 600 or more home runs in Major League history, so he is 2 away, and he has a lot of home runs lifetime against the California, Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels. Big names, big bats, lineups, first pitch. This should be good. Yankees, Angels, next on My Nine. Yankees have taken the field. We're moments away from the first pitch. And while we're here, why don't we honor America and listen to a rendition of our national anthem. New York Yankees baseball on My 9 is brought to you in part by your local Lexus dealer, Chase. Now with over 15,000 ATMs nationwide, Chase, what matters? And by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. Well, the Yankees continue their homestand with a mini 2-game set against the Angels, and then it finishes up with 4 games against the Kansas City Royals. So the Yankees start the second half of the season taking 2 out of 3 against Kansas City. Now Phil Hughes will begin his warm-ups, and let's take a look at the Los Angeles Angels starting lineup, which is brought to you by Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles in America. Drive one at your Tri-State Ford dealer today. Eric Ibar, the shortstop, is going to lead off. Howie Kendrick at second base will bat second. Batting third and playing right field, former Yankee Bobby Abreu. Torrey Hunter in center will clean up. Another former Yankee, Hideki Matsui, the DH. Mike Napoli at first base will bat sixth. Batting seventh and playing left field, Juan Rivera. Meiser Asturias, the third baseman, hits eighth. And batting ninth and catching, Jeff Mathis.
Well, the young right-hander on the mound for the Yankees tonight, 24-year-old Phil Hughes, making a start in his numbers this year. Put him on the All-Star team. This will be his 17th start of the year. His record is 11-2, 3.65 ERA, less than a hit per inning, 29 walks, 91 strikeouts. Opponent's batting average is .239. Let's take a look at New York Yankees pitcher scouting report, brought to you by Hyundai. Think Hyundai, but act now for special deals at your Hyundai dealer. He sunk the Mariners in his last start. 7 solid innings. Just gave up 1 run, 6 hits, had 5 strikeouts, didn't walk anybody. Fallen Angels, young man from near Anaheim, has beaten the Angels 3 times in his career without a loss, and his .846 winning percentage is tied with Andy Pettitte, his teammate, for the best winning percentage in the league.
Andy shut down for a while, as we discussed earlier, on the DL. Phil Hughes 11-2 with the 3.65, as we saw. The Angels struggling. They don't have Kendry Morales, who hurt himself in a home plate celebration. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So obviously this is a somewhat diminished team. They are 50-45, and unfortunately for the Angels, the Texas Rangers are playing great baseball and don't seem like as if they're coming back to the pack. The Rangers have a 5-game lead over the LA Angels. Eric Ibar digs in. He is ready. Phil Hughes is ready. And we are ready here on My 9. So let's do it here at Yankee Stadium as the big right-hander deals. Fastball low, and we're underway.
Yeah, the Angels have gotten so accustomed to just making the playoffs every year, kind of in a weak division out in the West. And all of a sudden, the Texas Rangers have shown up, and now they've added Cliff Lee. Good, solid team where, you're just not going to back into the playoffs out in the West this year.
And the Angels also have to be worried a little bit about the A's. The A's are only 3 games behind them. Ibar grounds one to short. Jeter quickly releases, and there's one away. This is the way the American League West looks. The Rangers 5 games ahead of the Angels. The Athletics 8 back, and the Mariners 18 off the pace.
This could be a stretch of game for Mike Socha and the Angels that will tell the tale during the course of their season. They leave here, these 2 games, then they go play 4 games against the Texas Rangers in Texas. Then they come home, play the Red Sox, and then play Texas again. So they got a stretch of tough teams to play.
Howie Kendrick takes pitch outside.
You remember as a player, I mean, that was could be a good thing, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it hot at the right time of the year. You come to the ballpark, you know that they're must-win situations, and can add a lot to, your adrenaline just going to the ballpark every day.
You get pumped.
I was kind of looking at their monthly record. I mean, they've had one winning month all year. I mean, they did some damage in June where they were 18-9. Every other month the whole year they've been a losing team. So something that the Anaheim Angels, I knew I was going to do it, Michael. I dropped the Anaheim.
That's all right. It's in the title.
I was going to apologize before I did it, but I already had blurted it out. But just something that they're not accustomed to doing. They've been in the playoff run, since Mike Socha has taken over as manager.
See Kendrick's numbers. A much better hitter, though, against the Yankees. 381 lifetime, 48 for 126.
When you hit that well against a team, it seems that when you play them, no matter how you are hitting, you're going to hit well.
It's so weird. It becomes a mindset, doesn't it?
When you have been hitting poorly, they come to town, they get you going.
Right.
Or if you've been hitting pretty well, you hit even better.
Mm-hmm. You don't even want to think about the vice versa teams. The teams you don't hit against, no matter what you're doing.
And that one hits Phil Hughes. He scrambles after it and flips to Teixeira. Now they have to see if Phil Hughes is okay. Looks like he's fine.
Well, Phil Hughes is about 6'4", 240 pounds, so you might want to check the baseball and not him.
Like it got him on the calf.
Yeah, made out of granite. Here's another look at the smash back through the middle. Looked like he got it back on the back of the knee. He looks all right.
The thing is, as a hitter, I always put myself in the position of a hitter, and as soon as you hit that ball and you see it ricochet off the pitcher, you watch his reaction and you hope that he can't find it, because then you can hustle down and get away. And as soon as you see him get that good line on the ball, you're done.
Tonight's closed captioning brought to you by your local Lexus dealer. So Joe Girardi and trainer Gene Monahan took a look at Hughes. He says, I'm okay, and he stays in. So he retires the first 2 Angels. Here is Bobby Abreu.
I used to point in the opposite direction.
It's
over there,
yeah. Uh-huh.
And the pitch is low, a 1-0. Hughes throwing hard, 93-94 so far in the first inning. Abreu has a 5-game hitting streak. He's 7 for his last 20. But not having the best year at 259.
Usually he's around that 300 mark, and this could also be a year where he doesn't make the 100 RBI totals. That would be something off something he usually does.
Just 51 ribbies.
Yeah.
There's a strike. Last 4 years, he's always over 100 RBIs or right at it in 2008. And his average is always around 295, but 207. In 2007, he hit 283, but this is a very odd year for him at 259.
It's one of the things you look at the Los Angeles Angels is one thing that they're having trouble with, and that's scoring runs. And then offensively, Hideki Matsui hasn't been what they thought he'd be. Abreu's down a little bit. I mean, you lost Vlad Guerrero. I mean, he's taken his numbers to another team. See Mickey Hatcher, their hitting coach. You got to try to produce enough runs. I mean, your starting pitching has been pretty good. Your bullpen hadn't been what it has been, but your offense has still got to score runs.
Scott Kazmir was supposed to start this game, but then he was put on the DL, so Sean O'Sullivan was moved in. He's really struggled this year, Kazmir.
Well, he gave up 13 runs in his last start.
3-2. Grounded to second. Cano is right there. 3 ground balls, 3 straight outs for Phil Hughes as the Angels are retired in order. LA nothing, and the New York Yankees coming to bat. Yankees starting lineup is brought to you by your Tri-State area Volkswagen dealers. Visit tristatevw.com. The captain, the shortstop, Derek Jeter, will lead off, batting second, and playing right field, Nick Swisher. Mark Teixeira's at first, he'll hit third. Cleaning up and playing third base, Alex Rodriguez, 2 away from 600. Robinson Cano, the second baseman, will bat fifth, batting sixth, and catching Jorge Posada. Curtis Granderson in center field will bat seventh, batting eighth, and DHing Juan Miranda. Brett Gardner's in left field, he's in bat ninth.
Young right-hander on the mound is Sean O'Sullivan, just 22 years old. He's been in 4 games thus far this season. 7 innings, 5 hits, a walk, a couple of strikeouts. This will be his first start of the year. This is the first time the Yankees have ever seen him. Let's take a look at the Los Angeles Angels pitcher scouting report, brought to you by your local Dodge dealers. Well, we don't have much on him. 3rd-round pick of the Angels back in 2005. He's made his way through their organization. July 28, 2009, about a year ago, he pitched a no-hitter. AAA Salt Lake City, the first one in their franchise history. He's got a very good changeup.
Derek Jeter swings at the first pitch. Nice play by Ibar. And he guns down the Yankee captain for the first out. Can't hit the ball harder than that. And Ibar made the play.
Talk about an infielder trying to make, when a ball's hit that hard, you try to get the good hop on it. And you don't know whether it happens so quick, whether to stay back, to charge it. All of a sudden you see this ball here kind of eats him up. It's a good play.
See his head snap?
Yeah.
Almost dragged him into left field.
Trying to get out of the way. Every once in a while, that ball catches you.
You got to protect the teeth.
That's right.
Here's Nick Swisher. Carries a 3.01 average into this game. 5 hits in his last 14 at-bats. And the pitch low. That one's driven deep to right field. There it goes. See ya. 1-0 Yankees.
When you talk to the scouting report, he had a very good changeup, which to me means that you better spot your fastball pretty well. And you'll see this fastball gets a lot of the plate. First 2 hitters for the Yankees who squared them both up. Fastball right on the inner half to a left-handed hitter. Kind of what you don't want to do in Yankee Stadium as an opposing pitcher.
9th home run for Swisher here at home, and that's 1 more than he had all of last year in the Bronx. Here's Mark Teixeira. Pitch outside, 1-0.
Here's a good feeling here as a hitter. You know as soon as it leaves the bat, you get to touch them all. Let's find out what deck it goes in, what row it goes into.
O'Sullivan actually pitched for the Angels 4 different stints with them last year for a total of 51 2/3 innings. In those 51 2/3 innings, he gave up 12 home runs. So he's a frequent flyer.
Count 2-0. Now 2-0 is not a good count for O'Sullivan. He ends up throwing ball 3. Opponents are hitting .541 when O'Sullivan falls behind 2-0. 20 for 37. And there's a strike.
Michael, before the All-Star game, you saw a lot of the, and you do every year, people that had good numbers and they were snubbed from the All-Star game. And in your mind, Nick Swisher, I mean, he's one of the guys that was missing on that team, obviously.
Well, he was missing on the original team, and then they voted him on, so he did get the chance to go. And he didn't mind that he got that way. He was voted on by the fans in the vote, so he felt very, very good about being there, even if it was in that initial vote. New York Yankees baseball is broadcast in Spanish. It's available by hitting the SAP button on your television. SAP is brought to you by Toyota. There are many reasons to buy a Toyota, and now's the perfect time to get yours during Toyota's National Clearance Event. Here's Alex Rodriguez. He is 2 homers away from 600, and if he wants to hit a couple of homers, the Angels are the team. 67 lifetime home runs against the Angels. O'Sullivan deals. Strike.
We went over in the pregame, Michael. He might as well get those 2 out of the way, huh?
Why not? He had a lot of trouble going from 499 to 500.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's something that Joe Girardi spoke about before the game. He's worried about 599 to 600 because you're starting to try. When you try to hit home runs, they They always say it's tough. The 0-1. Strike.
This is a hanging slider from Andy Sonnenstein. That went a long way.
You almost saw Alex say, wow, when I hit that one. As a hitter, you know when you get complete extension on the baseball, hit it in the right spot. 427 feet later.
The 0-2.
Look out.
And the count 1-2.
Go back to Nick Swisher and Kenny. You know, when I made the All-Star team, when you made the All-Star team, there was no extra voting in, and I just wonder, because Joey Votto, I'm from Cincinnati, he was voted in also. When I saw the interviews, how ecstatic he was just to get there. And Michael, you said, you know, he was happy also. But is there something in a player's mind that, you know, I should have been on this team anyway? You know what I'm saying?
Well, there was no internet when I was playing.
No. There's still no internet in my life. Don't worry about it. I don't know how to use it.
Now, speaking of RBIs, tonight's league leaders are brought to you by New York Lottery Powerball. With Powerball and Mega Millions now, you have 4 days a week to win. Play big, play both. 73 ribbies for A-Rod, despite the fact that he's hitting 272, and he's 9 behind the leader. Here's the 2-2. Driven into right center field. That is a base hit. Cutting over is Abreu, cuts the ball off in the gap. Alex Rodriguez going for 2. And a hustle double for Rodriguez as Teixeira advances to third.
A few weeks ago when A-Rod had that injury, he wouldn't have tried for second. He would have held it first. But you can tell he's feeling better, and it's been a couple of weeks now that he's been running with much more speed. Here's a pitch, hanging breaking ball. He's lucky he got that back. Lucky it stayed in the park. Good hustle by Abreu. Bobbles it momentarily, and the throw is cut off by Kendrick, and there's no play at second base. A-Rod hustles in with a double, and the Yankees have 2 runners in scoring position. There's the follow through. Good swing, head down. Elbow drops into the right side, and it's headed for the gap. Gap City in right center.
You know, we showed that replay of his 490 or 598th home run, and it's about the same pitch right there. He just didn't pull that ball, kind of came inside of it and just shot at the right center.
Well, they're going to intentionally walk Cano, and they will pass the baton to Posada with the bases loaded. So they're trying to set up the double play, and they don't want to mess with Cano, who's had such great numbers all year.
This will be the 8th time that Cano's been walked intentionally, and that leads the Yankees.
You know, they talk so much about who was going to protect Alex Rodriguez in the lineup. Well, Cano provided that protection. Obviously, with 8 intentional walks, there's not much protection for Cano in the Yankee lineup, because now Posada has to make the Angels pay for walking Cano. Posada has enjoyed hitting with the bases loaded this year. In fact, he's had 2 grand slams.
Now this is against Houston, and they had a problem on 2 days in a row. Big problem.
Those were our games, Michael.
Yeah.
That brings back old times right there.
That was back in June. This is how much respect Cano has gained this year. He has 8 intentional walks, as Kenny said. From 05 to 09, he had 14 total intentional walks. Here's Posada. 4 hits in his last 12 at-bats. The bases jam. Yankees already lead 1-0 on the home run by Swisher.
You know, Paul, when you come up with the bases loaded, I don't know how you felt, but I know the pitcher was in trouble, and I'm looking for something I can at least get to the outfield with, or something I can drive that runner in from third. If I get lucky and drive in more, or if you get lucky and drive them all in, hey, so much the better.
Especially with a guy with a good changeup, you look for something up in the zone. So even if you're fooled, you're going to drive the ball to the outfield. The only intention right here as a hitter is to drive the ball out of the infield. And we said, Kenny, good things will happen.
The 1-0. 2-0 on the change in the dirt.
Well, Jorge's got himself in a good count, and even if O'Sullivan throws him another changeup and it's a strike, I believe he would take it. Just say, all right, show me something else. Jorge is in the driver's seat right here.
The 2-0. Rolled over on that pitch in the count 2-1.
And another changeup. Before the game today, Jorge was in the cage down in the tunnel, just hitting baseball off the tee, and he was just practicing, hit the ball right back through the middle. One right after the other.
Two-one pitch. 3-1. There's no place to put Posada.
3 straight changeups. Four.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of.
Yeah, every fastball he's thrown has got hammered. So and then he hung a slider to A-Rod. So you're as a catcher, you're like, we're in all kinds of problems here.
Bases loaded. Teixeira, A-Rod, and Cano, third to first. At the plate, the veteran Posada. Yankees lead a 1-0. The 3-1. Grounded right side. Fielded there by the second baseman Kendrick. They get one. 1 run scores. Throw to third. A-Rod's back. So an RBI for Posada. And the Yankees lead 2-0.
Well, good break for the Yankees, bad break for the Angels. I mean, you got what you wanted as a pitcher. You got a ground ball. It just so happens it wasn't at anybody. Didn't have time to turn 2. Remember Robbie Alomar, that was like his favorite play, is if you couldn't turn 2 to throw behind you and you're as a runner from third, and you see Alex, he didn't take much of a run. A lot of runners will come around and get that big turn in case they go for the double play. You might score. Good play on the behalf of the shortstop.
Here's Granderson, first and third, 2 outs now. Posada with his 34th ribby. And there's a fastball low. Count 1-0. There's a strike. Boy, Kenny, your scouting report was really on the schnoz. He likes that change.
Well, as Paul said, everything else has been hit pretty hard.
You got to go to what end. Even if you threw it for balls, they didn't get hit hard.
1-1. Dribbled slowly at the first baseline, but it's a foul ball.
Another changeup.
Yeah.
I always ask you this, Paul, and you always say you can't do it. If all he's throwing is changeups, why can't you sit changeup?
It's just so against what you do as a hitter. I mean, you go up there, you look, you look fastball, and you adjust to everything else. And as a hitter, if you're in a good routine of doing that, you will adjust down. You start looking for changeups and sliders, and then you miss those good fastballs. It'll drive you crazy mentally. If I keep telling you the same, why do you keep asking me the
same
same
question? Because I'm trying to change your mind.
Huh?
The 1-2. Swung on and missed. He got him on a changeup, and that'll do it. But the Yankees score 2 runs on 2 hits, and they leave 2. The scoring started when Nick Swisher deposited 1 into the seats in right. Yankees are 34-9 when they score first. They've scored first. They're up 2-0. would make a good major league manager someday? Is it A, Jorge Posada, B, Jason Varitek, C, Mike Napoli, D, Pudge Rodriguez? Text A, B, C, or D to 70377 or go to my9tv.com. Find out the results right after the game. It's Take on Russ, brought to you by Toyota.
You know, Michael, I'm going to just throw this one out there, but I don't think Jason Varitek's going to get a lot of votes from this crowd. What do you think?
I think you're right, but they might be wrong. He might be a great manager.
Yeah.
Torrey Hunter takes a pitch outside. Torrey Hunter, one of the Angels All-Stars. The game was played in his home stadium. Pitch is high. Yankees are leading 2-0 on the scoreboard, brought to you by Time Warner Cable's All the Best Triple Play. Yankees get Phil Hughes 2 early runs. He knows all about run support. The Yankees have scored him an average of 8.29 runs per game.
You got to have a feeling that's one of the top totals in the league.
And a strike.
I've heard pitchers say, Paul, it's not how you pitch, it's when you pitch.
When you pitch, what day of the week.
Yeah, and, you know, how's my team going to score for me? And then Phil Hughes, 8.29 runs per game. He's got 2-run lead to work with here.
There's a hot shot through for a base hit. So Torrey Hunter with the first hit against Phil Hughes.
Well, you know, you do start out your rotation to the beginning of the year with your 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then, you know, Phil Hughes, as good as he's thrown, this is out over the plate. Something Torrey Hunter can hack at. You know, you're matching up with a 4 and 5 starters from other teams, and you know, as good as he's thrown the ball, you know, he's going to win those games.
Nice warm hand for Hideki Matsui. Crowd still appreciates Matsui. He had such a great World Series last year against the Phillies. 7 seasons with the Yankees, a .292 hitter, .370 on-base percentage, 140 ribbies, or 140 home runs, 597 ribbies, and he's having a subpar season.
You know, one of the major differences this year, as you see before the game, Jeter called him one of his favorite teammates over the years. Seems like they're having good times.
You know what? Before the game, he came over just to say hello to a lot of people, and actually, Kenny, we were down on the field. He came over. He speaks good English.
Perfect.
Huh? I mean, what a credit to learn the language. He came over here years ago. You know, when 7 years he was with the Yankees. But he didn't. I don't think he spoke a word of English.
Well, he always had his interpreter with him, Roger, and you know, it's not like Roger's still with him, but it's not like he's going to, you know, recite the Gettysburg Address.
Right,
but I'm sure that he, after 7 or 8 years now, he understands English.
That brings back bad memories, because that's like 7th grade now, and that's what my daughter just went through this year, where she had to learn the Gettysburg Address. Man, that's going on through my head right now, Kenny.
4 score,
huh?
4 score, 7 years ago.
I still didn't learn it, and she was rattling along.
I think a lot of the Japanese players very shrewdly employ their interpreters, even when they know English, because it's more difficult to interview them. It gives them time to think about the answer even more, because you've heard the question in English, and you could be processing an answer as your interpreter is giving it to you in Japanese. Because bottom line, in Seattle, Ichiro speaks perfect English, but he never conducts an interview in English, ever.
Right.
The 2-2. Scoop the other way down the left field line, and Gardner runs out of room. Matsui put together a pretty nice career with the Yankees. We mentioned the 7 seasons, made the All-Star team twice, won the World Series MVP last year, 8 for 13, 3 homers and 8 ribbies. And in Game 6, pretty good way to end it, 3 for 4, double, a home run, and 6 runs batted in. Pretty much won the MVP that game.
Well, you all know how nice a guy Roger was. Now, why would Matsui all of a sudden say, well, I speak perfect English, I don't need you anymore. Cut him loose. That wouldn't be fair. He's helped them this far. No one got to be out of a job.
The 2-2, runner goes, popped up. Cano makes the catch, and he's going to double up Hunter, and you can give an assist to Jeter, who made believe as if he was going to field a ground ball, and Hunter kept running.
Yeah, one of the dangers of trying to steal or being on the move without checking to see what happens with the baseball, I don't know, it looks like Hunter saw that. Finally, he saw that Cano was going to catch it, but it's way too late. He's out by 30 feet.
Yeah, I think his read right there. I think it was reading Granderson.
Yeah,
he thought he had more time to get back to the base, and you could tell immediately. You could see, there's his English. Get back, would you? Yeah, I think he was kind of watching Granderson, and he figured, oh, Robbie's going to get. Robbie has, great arm. That wasn't even close.
And the first pitch to Napoli is a strike.
Kind of an unconventional double play.
The old 4-3.
Oh, Kendrick Morales out of the lineup. Out for the season. Mike Napoli's taken over at first base. Now, he's a catcher by trade. He's leading the Angels in home runs with 16, but they really miss Kendrick Morales.
Good solid hitter.
He was their team MVP last year. Drove in over 100 runs and injured in a freak accident celebrating a game-winning walk-off home run. And the Angels and a lot of teams rethought their process of walk-off homers after that. Celebrations were much more muted at home plate.
Driven the other way and out of play. And this is how Morales hurt himself. So this is a classic case of ecstasy to agony in just a moment. Oh, that's awful. Oh, he broke his leg.
Oh, man, that looked ugly.
And they really miss him. Napoli's done a nice job, but he's not Kendrick Morales.
Well, Morales, number one's a switch hitter.
And also a pretty good defender.
Yeah, and he hits close to 300, if not over.
That's what they've done in his absence, 264. 6 homers and 24 ribbies. And Napoli with a hard single to left field. So now that bad base running by Hunter looms large. And here's Juan Rivera, former Yankee.
You know, what's interesting about the Morales injury, the very next day, the Angels had another walk-off home run. It was Howie Kendrick. And the celebration was quite different. Nobody came near home. Well, they were near home plate, but they gave plenty of room to touch home plate. Then they kind of patted him on the back.
Kind of the silent treatment. Huh?
Well, almost.
Another line drive and another base hit. That will go into the gap in right center. Cut off near the warning track by Granderson. And they will hold Napoli up at third.
We're going to take a look at Kendrick's home run. This is the very next day. Now watch how the Angels treat this one. They give him plenty of room to touch home, and then the celebration begins. And a lot of teams rethought the way they celebrated the walk-off homers, and you can't blame them.
You talk to Angel people, they say the fact that the players around home plate really didn't have anything to do with it. He jumped up in the air and he just landed awkwardly. Nobody touched him. He landed kind of sideways where you would turn your ankle, but instead the leg snapped.
Yeah, there was not much room for him to get through the pile to touch home plate.
First and third, 2 outs. Here's Meiser Esturis. And a strike. Now with Kendrick Morales, they're saying that he's out for the remainder of the year. They're holding out a little hope that maybe he's back at the end of September, but in all likelihood not. Now this is a spot where Phil Hughes has not been great this year. He's 11-2, we told you that, but opponents are hitting .421 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position against Phil. That's 16 for 38. Check swing and fouled away.
We're talking about the Angels being just 5 games over 500 at this point, and another reason they've struggled somewhat is because Meister Torres is on the DL for 45 games. He had a forearm injury. Good solid player. He can play short, second, third. Always been a tough hitter against the Yankees. Just a tough out.
One. Hot shot up the middle and a base hit. That'll score Napoli. Rivera moves to second. RBI single for Torres, and the Yankee lead is now 2-1.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of times Kendrick, unbelievable numbers against the Yankees. Torres. Sean Figgins, who's gone now, had unbelievable numbers. Guerrero, and that just adds up to guys that, you know, that's why the Angels did so well against the Yankees. The Yankees have had trouble beating them when they needed to.
And here's Dave Island to talk with Hughes after this pitch hung up in the zone.
And about thigh high. Everything's been hit pretty hard this inning.
Yeah, you're seeing from Phil Hughes where, you know, he had that overpowering fastball that usually got by people. You know, I watched Napoli. I mean, he got a good fastball out over the plate. I mean, guys are hitting that ball now. It's not getting by him. And, you know, that curveball is just hanging a little bit at times. He said his last outing in Seattle, he threw the ball really well. Good, sharp breaking ball. But, you know, you get to the point of the season where, you know, you lose a little velocity on your fastball, a little hop on your curveball, and all of a sudden, you know, a lot of these balls that you're used to getting by people end up rolling out in the gaps.
Phil Hughes wanted that curveball for a strike. Bruce Dreckman said no, so Phil Hughes stared in for a little bit. Hey, if you really break down Phil Hughes' season, you know, we said the Yankees score almost 9 runs a game for him, and that's part of the reason that he is 11-2, not taking anything away from him. Break it down. First 6 starts, he's 5-0 with a 1.38. In his last 10 starts, he's 6-2 with a 5.08. So he has not pitched that well after a great start. He drops that curveball in for a strike. He's just gotten a lot of run support. Last time out, though, against Seattle, he was outstanding.
He had a good curveball, and even though that had good break on it, it broke in the middle of the plate. There are some hitters, when they're looking for that, they're going to hit it. Want to keep it down a little more.
Michael's looking for that. He's told me over and over. Did you hear his question? If you know the guy has a curveball, why don't you look at the curveball? Because then he's going to throw you 3 heaters right down the middle, Michael, and you're going to be sitting down.
I get it, but O'Sullivan is throwing 8 out of 10 pitches as changeups. Now, you know that Tino would sit on a changeup.
That's why he hit O'Sullivan better than I would. Michael went through this big long thing we were doing a game, and I said, I even looked fastball off of Tim Wakefield. He said, did you ever get it? I said, I got one, and I was ready for it. Yeah.
He could not hold up on that fastball on the inside part of the plate, so Mathis down on strikes. 1 run on 4 hits, and 2 runners left on base. We go to the bottom of the second. 2-1 Yanks.
celebrate Hall of Fame weekend with an updated version of Yankeeography Goose Gossage, featuring new footage of his induction at Cooperstown. And Friday at 11, American soccer star Landon Donovan sits down for an all-new GMC Presents Center Stage with Michael Kay, only on Yes.
Juan Miranda leads off against Sean O'Sullivan. The first pitch is low, 1-0. Miranda, Gardner, and Jeter here in the bottom of the second. Count 2-0. Time Warner Cable scoreboard, 2-1 Yankees lead. Angels had 4 hits that inning, and you wonder what would have happened that inning if Torrey Hunter had not been doubled off, but that would be subscribing to the fallacy of the predetermined outcome. Maybe the inning breaks down differently. There's a ground ball to first. Napoli is there, 1 away.
You did that center stage before or after the World Cup?
After.
After?
Yep. It was good. Paul, we haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Everything all right? You doing
Everything's
okay?
going.
Yeah, family good?
All together. We're all over the place. Yep.
How's your golf game? Good?
Non-existent. I'll tell you one thing. It's hot all over the country. It's just not this booth. It is hot all over the country.
Here's Gardner. And there's a strike.
Good change up there.
See, that was a good changeup because it had a little fade to it. And Gardner actually had a pretty good swing at it. Just the movement of the pitch. Bunch of his pitch just kind of fade away at the end, and that's what gets him.
Those guys with the real good changeup, if you swing through it, you almost, I mean, it hurts your elbow.
Lock your elbow up,
You kind of snap your elbow because you're so ahead of it. Pedro had one like that. Who was the best changeup you remember?
Oil Can Boyd had a good one.
Yeah.
Dick Pole had a good one.
Oil Can had a good breaking ball, too. Big old Ephus pitch.
Dick Pole, when he became a pitching coach, taught his changeup to CC Sabathia. That's where CC learned his changeup. Of course, CC's is 89 miles an hour.
Right.
The 2-2. Strike 3. Gardner down looking.
Gardner questioning if this is low, but ends up pretty good pitch.
There's a grip on the changeup. You can see he holds it with. Looks like he's got all the fingers on it. There's different ways of holding the changeup, but it looks like he's got the full 5-finger grip on it. And what that does, it means even with the same action, the ball won't come out quite as fast.
By holding it back in your fingers, it doesn't matter where your arm speed is, the ball kind of slips out and you cannot get the same velocity. But that's the key to a good changeup is the arm speed. If you back in Little League when everybody slowed their whole motion down, everybody can hit that changeup, but it's when that same arm speed and then the ball doesn't get there as quick as a fastball.
But every once in a while, pitchers would tip their changeup because they get to the top of their delivery, and you can actually see the fingers on the ball, and that would make me sit back a little longer as a hitter, thinking, okay, this is not coming quite as fast. I'm just going to lay back here in the weeds and then jump out and get it.
Count 1 and 2. Jeter hit the ball very hard in the first inning, but Ibar played it off to the left side. And Jeter's average is at 270 right now, which is 45 points below his lifetime average. He's a 315 lifetime hitter. The 1-2, swinging and a miss on that change. And O'Sullivan comes back with a strong inning as he picks up 2 strikeouts and retires the Yankees in order. Let's go to the third here at the stadium. Yankees are leading 2-1, 2-2-0, leading 1-4-0, and it'll be the top of the Angel order against Phil Hughes, Ibar, Kendrick, and Bobby Abreu.
Ibar's a very good bunter.
Shows it there and takes a strike.
Got 12 bunt hits this year.
Got a quiz coming up for Paul O'Neill and Ken Singleton in just a moment. That one is driven down the right field line. It's a fair ball, and it's grabbed by a fan, so it'll be a double. So Ibar starts off the third inning with a double.
The ball gets in on him, but you know, when you keep that ball fair, good things are going to happen down the line. And not hit too hard, but stand up double. Good one-hander by the fan.
Another pitch about belt high though.
Right now, here's Howie Kendrick, and you see one more look at the ball staying up and out over the plate.
That's right there. You throw that to Paul O'Neill, you're not getting it back.
Yeah. This day and age, you get it right back from the catcher. Strike point.
All right, so we talked about how Kendrick, coming into this game, a .381 lifetime hitter against the Yankees, and you guys talked about how you feel better when you beat up on a team. All right, Kenny, you first. The best average you had against any team?
Seattle.
I was going to say Seattle. You love that Kingdom, didn't you?
Yeah.
341. 24 homers, 77 ribbies in 73 games. So that is correct.
77 ribbies?
77 ribbies in 73 games.
Wow, that wasn't a misprint.
Oh, my goodness.
You saw that building is now gone.
Actually, when they imploded it,
right.
I went over and got a piece of it. I got it.
Still have it?
Yeah. I took it home with me.
All right, now, Paul, you're best in the National League and best in the American League.
National League, I'd say the Dodgers.
You'd be wrong.
Wrong. Well, I can't even get my own questions today, but go ahead.
You hit 344 against the Padres with 8 home runs. All right, how about the American League?
American League, I'm going to say Texas.
You got it.
Is that right?
330 with 16 home runs.
All right.
Nice job.
See, we remember who we hit well against. Don't bring the ones that we didn't hit well against. I forgot those a long time ago.
They bring back bad memories, too, you know? You think about those ballparks and all those walks back to the dugout when you didn't hit. Horrible. It's like getting a C or D on a test, Michael. You know, you got to go home and tell mom and dad.
I never had to do that.
There we go. Yeah. Why?
That one's driven the other way and out of play.
Give me those stats. I want to take those home.
You got them. You should frame those babies.
It's a lot of ribbies.
I'm going to take them to Seattle next time I go there.
You know, I turned on the game last week when they were in Seattle. That's why you go there. You just want to try to get another at bat.
Well, not in Safeco Field. It's a little bigger than the Kingdome.
And also, the team's a little better. Not this year.
You know what? You're right about that. That was a lot of that was done early in the Mariners' history when they weren't very good at all.
3-2. And Kendrick walks. Well, as we move along here in the third, I'm going to take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by Mazda. Zoom. So we'll take a look at those as we move along. Baltimore leading Tampa 3-1, top of the third inning.
I was talking to Joe Girardi today before the game. He and Dave Island, who was right next to him. And the job they did on Sunday, piecing that game together after Andy Pettitte left. I mean, they had 6 2/3 innings to fill, and the bullpen was pretty good. Robertson an inning and 2/3, Chano Park an inning and a third, Boone Logan an inning and 2/3, Job an inning 2/3, and then Mariano one pitch. A third of an inning.
And as we mentioned on Sunday, the key to the game, though, was bringing in Robertson when they brought him in, because Joe said this game could get away right here if I bring in a mop-up guy. So I'm going to bring in a guy that I usually bring in the 6th or 7th inning to get these outs. I think there were runners on first and second.
And there was a walk that was charged to Andy Pettitte that loaded the bases, and he still got out of it.
A 1-0. 1-1.
Meanwhile, in this game, Phil Hughes is going to have to start locating a little bit better. His pitches have been towards the middle of the plate. And when he's really on, he's hitting the corners. His breaking ball is down. But so far in this game, he hasn't really gotten that rhythm to where he can move the ball to either corner.
The 1-1. 2-1.
This is what we were talking about on Sunday. Robertson came in the third and got the pop up. Jeter made the play. B.J. Upton flied out to the warning track, and that was it. The Rays left the bases loaded and didn't score.
Now they're just
a little
chilling.
tired out there.
And that's why they're tired. They combined for 6 2/3, 6 hits and 2 runs.
And you got to remember that A.J. Burnett on Saturday, the day before, had a short start. So the bullpen was used quite heavily over a 2-day period.
See in the middle there, Jonathan Albaladeo was just called up today.
Did you see his numbers in AAA?
Oh,
man.
31 saves, 0.50 ERA.
Like Mariano numbers.
He was dealing.
You know, it's funny. We talked about Bobby Abreu and his offensive numbers. He drives in 100 runs. I was just looking up at the scoreboard. 20 steals in the 11 consecutive seasons.
Yeah.
And he has 16 so far this year.
You know, and not known as a speedster, but just a good base stealer.
That one right in the kitchen. Infield fly rule is called for the first half. Didn't you have 20 stolen bases your last year?
Last year, yeah.
You just ran right out of the game.
Saved it, yeah. Saved it all up.
Michael pointed out that was one fewer than I had my whole career.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What a base stealing threat.
No, well,
you got
not
Eddie
only
Murray behind you. You don't want to steal bases.
Yeah.
Hey, traveling this season? Take the Yankees with you. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Yankees game live or on demand on your computer. Visit Yankees.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere.
Just think, if I had stolen second base and they walked Eddie Murray intentionally, Earl would have walked down to second and pulled me off the field.
Here's Torrey Hunter. Fouls it back. Paul had 141 bases in his career stolen. Were you still batting third your last year?
Yeah.
So who was behind you, Bernie?
Yeah. There were times that, against lefties and stuff that Joe would switch it up a little bit, but for the most part.
Fastball's outside.
Well, Hughes thought he had another strike. You can see his disappointment with not getting the call, and the same with Posada. And it's close, but I think it's off the corner. Yeah, you can see that it's off by about a ball. But he can't seem to get the ball to the corner. He's either missing by a little bit, or then he comes back towards the middle.
All of a sudden, Anaheim has made Hughes labor through these innings. And you look back at that first inning, the Yankees could have broke this game wide open. Sullivan made a couple pitches, got out, only gave up a couple runs with bases loaded.
Ground ball up the middle and through for a base hit. That's going to tie the game. Ibar scores. Moving to third is Kendrick. It's an RBI single for Hunter. It's a 2-2 game.
One thing I've noticed about Torrey Hunter over the years, he's a very good breaking ball hitter, and he likes the ball out over the plate. That was a breaking ball out over the plate.
And I think you're doing, that's a pretty good pitch. But
Yeah,
you're right, especially late in the count. Some guys look breaking ball like Michael. He's always looking for the breaking ball. Manny Ramirez, in my mind, was a breaking ball hitter later in the count. He looked for that slider, and you were better off throwing that fastball to him with 2 strikes. Most pitchers try to get the strikeout, especially with men in scoring position. But that's a ball out off the plate, breaking ball. Torrey Hunter had no problem getting into it, driving it up the middle.
Yeah, another pitch that was kind of thigh high, too.
So Hunter, who drove in his 63rd run, dives back. Matsui grounds one right back to Hughes. There's one. On to first, it's a double play. Matsui is hit into 2 double plays, both distinctly different, but still getting 2 outs each time. But the Angels tie the score, 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 man left. 1, 6, 3. And Nick Swisher will lead off. It's a 2-2 game. Nick Swisher homered in the first inning. And there's a strike. High fly ball. Left field. Rivera put it away for the first out.
Didn't Rivera, I mean, talk about kind of a freak accident. We were talking about Morales earlier. Didn't Rivera run into a golf cart when he was here? Like shagging fly balls or something?
I think he might have been with the Angels then.
Or was it with the Angels?
Yeah.
I remember hearing the story, and it been put on the DL because there was a golf cart on the, during batting practice, and he actually ran into it, hurt his leg.
I know he broke his leg in winter ball.
Wow.
And missed quite a bit of time the next season.
Now you make me wonder if it was with the Yankees.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was with the Yankees when he ran into the golf cart.
Last time one was on the field, I guarantee it, during batting practice, huh?
It was in 2002. That's the kind of thing that would kind of chap George Steinbrenner.
Yes, I would think so.
Ground ball to first, and Teixeira is retired. Now, Paul, you obviously were on the show that we had the day that George Steinbrenner passed away. First time you've been on the broadcast. I know that you had a really good relationship with him.
Well, I mean, I was shocked. I was at home. I was shocked to hear what had happened, that he had passed. And, immediately a lot of memories flood into your head. And, I loved it when he came into town and he went through the locker room and you made eye contact. It almost, it gave you a shot of adrenaline that, this is a must win, an important win. And I have all the respect in the world for the man for what he did to keep those teams together and allow us to win world championships.
First pitch to Alex Rodriguez, 1-0. I was reading, I would love to give the correct credit. It was an interview with Brian Cashman. It was either in the Post or the News. I think it was in the Post. Joel Sherman wrote it. And he asked Brian Cashman, when was George Steinbrenner the happiest that you ever saw? And Brian said the day we got Alex Rodriguez.
Really?
He said because that's the type of deal that he just loved. Getting a big time guy, taking him from the Red Sox who had tried to get him, and just getting a marquee type of player in the Yankees. He never saw him happier than that day when they got Alex Rodriguez. Now Alex 2 home runs away from 600. The 2-1. Fouled away.
And after all those changeups, you see a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. That's why he was so late.
And even out of the zone, you see that ball was a little high, but you see the fastball, and you, as a hitter, you just kind of blink and swing because you've seen so many changeups in the count. Another one coming in.
Fights it off, and great grab there by Napoli, and he flips to O'Sullivan, who finds the bag for the final out. So we're now 8 in a row retired by O'Sullivan. We played 3 here at the stadium. A nice play by Napoli ends the bottom of the third. Trivia question brought to you by your local Jeep dealers. Alex Rodriguez has 67 home runs against the Angels, the most against any opponent. Against which team does he have the second most home runs? We'll find out in the bottom of the 4th. Pitch outside to Napoli, who made a nice play on A-Rod to end the third. 2-2 game.
I'll tell you who it's not, Michael. It's not Seattle, because he played for them, so he didn't have as many at-bats. Is that right?
Nice.
Is that logical thinking?
Very
deductive
so thinking.
I've got one of them out of the way.
Although he's made up for lost time against them. He's gaining on it. I think he's at like 32 against Seattle. They boo him like he stole something in Seattle.
He stole their hearts.
Oh, get used to it.
You're a changed man, Michael. You know that.
Ground ball to A-Rod. And there's one away. This fall, My 9 is your place for the biggest dramas on television. It's all about spies, murder, and a detective with OCD. Check out Burn Notice, Without a Trace, Monk, and The Closer. Enjoy all the drama coming this fall to My 9. You know, Kenny and I were a little worried about you, Paul.
Really?
Yeah, because Lou Piniella announced today that he's retiring at the end of the year. Are you okay with this?
You know what? Did you see his interview?
No.
He looks absolutely worn out, like he has played the whole year. And, you know, that's just... That is Lou. I mean, he wears it on his sleeve, and he's probably gotten to the point of frustration where he just cannot deal with it anymore. And, you know, you felt that every weekend if you had a bad weekend series that, you know, he took it like that. And that was one of the good qualities he had as a manager. When you went to the ballpark, you were expected to win. And he brought that from New York and immediately won in Cincinnati in 1990 with us. And, you know, we were talking about Mr. Steinbrenner. That is the type of philosophy. That is what, you know, his true players, the guys that grew up as Yankees went on to other organizations and brought that winning attitude to them. And that's what Lou Piniella brought, and it has not translated into a world championship in Chicago.
Well, he's not the only one who hasn't brought a championship. It's been over 100 years.
Something like that. A couple of goats, all kind of stuff has gone on there without a championship.
There's a fly ball to shallow center. Granderson took a weird route, dives, and can't make the play. He went back. He lost that ball and then tried to make up a lot of ground. Couldn't get there. So base hit for Rivera, his second of the night.
This ball, Granderson took a couple of false steps. You see him at the top of your screen. Goes back to and realizes, well, this ball's not going as far as I thought. And I believe that Rivera hit it off the end of the bat. He might have had a good swing. Sometimes that fools an outfielder. But he actually looked like he had the ball, but the ground caused the fumble.
Yeah, your true feel as an outfielder is the sound and the swing of the bat. And ideally, all you want to do if you don't know where it is, you see that he had that ball in the glove and it was knocked out, is just to freeze. And you saw Granderson take a couple steps back. That's the difference in making that play and not. But you're right, he made up a lot of ground at the end. But
should have been caught.
Ground caused the fumble.
No.
Now, you mentioned Lou Piniella's connection with George Steinbrenner. Lou was here when George Steinbrenner bought the team. The previous year, he had come over from the Royals for relief pitcher Lindy McDaniel. It was a great trade for the Yankees. 1-0. And there's a strike, and Piniella had long hair. So the first spring training, George Steinbrenner called Piniella into the office and said, you got to cut your hair. That's the rules. Piniella said, but Jesus Christ had long hair. So George took him outside, showed him a body of water. He goes, I tell you what, Lou, you walk across that water, you can keep your hair long. Lou got it cut the next day.
That was one of my favorite stories you ever told, Mike.
Really?
Yeah, that was a good one.
There is Lou's managerial resume. 23 seasons. Yankees, Reds, Mariners, Tampa Bay, and Chicago. The only team that he really didn't do what he wanted to do was Tampa Bay, because he just couldn't get it done there. Won a championship with Paul's Reds in '90. A couple of Manager of the Year awards. But you know what? Everybody said he fell with the Cubs. He took them to the playoffs. And in the last couple of years, it's kind of fallen apart. But he did it right away, what he was supposed to do, but just didn't complete it.
If you look at that Seattle team, that was probably one of those most disappointing teams, where they win 116 games in the regular season that year and end up losing to us in the playoffs. So those are those years that we always worried about as players. You have great years, but unless you win the World Series, they're kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, with the extra layer of playoffs now, it's not only more difficult to get to the World Series. I mean, just winning it and getting there is like two different things.
The 2-1. Driven down the right field line. That's going to be trouble. That could go. It does. A 2-run home run for Isturiz. And the Angels lead 4-2. Bobby Abreu doing some color commentary.
Right, that's a paint scraper. Just catches this last first row in the upper deck. And you see Isturiz, he's got kind of that switch hitter swing where they, don't look real comfortable, but they, put the bat on the ball, and you see kind of just a whip on an inside pitch.
Hughes has given up 12 home runs this year.
All on top of the wall.
All of them here. Every one at Yankee Stadium, right on top of the wall, and he gets the bounce into the seats.
Here's Jeff Mathis. Fouled away.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm starting to agree with you here. Even that pitch right there was fouled back. That ball's right down the middle of the plate. Especially early in the count, starting a guy out with a fastball. You've got to hit the corners. You've got to set up for later in the count.
Pick the glove up a little better. Goes to show you, Hughes has a pretty good fastball, but when you miss with it to the middle of the plate against major league hitters, they're going to hit it, and usually pretty hard. There's some guys turned around Nolan Ryan as hard as he was throwing if he got it in the middle.
You ever turn him around?
Not for the distance.
Me neither. I grounded out a couple times off him. Was pretty proud of him, to tell you the truth, early in your career.
Fastball swung on a miss. Count 2-2.
Are you on his strikeout list? Everybody is.
I'm sure I'm on there. Yeah. Got an RBI off of him one night.
The 2-2. Swing and a miss. Mathis down on strikes. We want to refresh your memory about one of your favorite managers, Paul. So Lou Piniella announced today he's going to retire at the end of the year. There's Lou with the Yankees as a young man and channeling Billy Martin. There he is as your manager. You were there for that?
I was there. You know what? Dutch Renner. I'll tell the story when we get through here. Yeah. He was good at that. Alan Trammell next to him there. But Dutch Renner was the umpire right there. And I remember running to right field after he threw that base out there. And he said, you know, Paul, I might have missed the call, but I can't have a guy throwing bases around the stadium. I had to throw him out. Dutch he was trying to, rationalize things with me.
Did you put the base back, Paul?
No, but that was on the news for a week, though, I tell you.
You know what the amazing part of that story, Kenny, is? That an umpire was so flustered by Lou that he was trying to rationalize with O'Neill. He's trying to rationalize with Paul O'Neill.
I had to throw him out again.
Can't have people throwing bases. High fly ball, center field. Granderson will make the play, and that will do it. 2 runs on 2 hits, no errors and nobody left, and the home run off the bat of Meister Torres just got in on the top of the wall, bounces into the seats. Yeah, it was that close. 4-2 Angels. Angels. That's the most he has against any opponent. Against which team does he have the second most home runs?
I'm going with Oakland A's.
No.
Come on.
No.
Baltimore. Baltimore.
Yeah.
Hampton Yards must help. Oakland's a big part.
Yeah, I thought he hit a bunch of them off them for some reason.
Here's Cano. That one is driven into right center field. Giving chase is Hunter. He makes the play. Boy, Cano really hit that, but Hunter got a good jump.
You know, Kenny, there's a lot of things that you don't miss about baseball. There's a lot of things you do miss about playing, and that's one of them you don't. You do everything perfect. You hit the ball right on the nose, and you see the center fielder just gallop over and catch it, throw it in like it was nothing.
Man, you could have hung out a week's worth of laundry on
Yeah.
that. That was a solid line drive. Yeah, 50. But, Paul, you got the longest home run hit by a Yankee. No, on the Utah streak. You hit it off Arthur Rhodes.
Arthur Rhodes, yeah.
Yeah, Darryl Strawberry has the longest by a Yankee straightaway center.
Oof.
And you know they put those little plaques in the
somebody sent me a picture.
Yeah.
You know how you get fan mail and so you get pictures? Somebody sent me a picture to sign, and it was a photograph of that.
431.
Is that what it was?
I think it was.
431. At least they could add a few, make it sound real big.
Yeah,
Right?
well, this is off a left-hander.
Yeah.
And how about Arthur Rhodes making the All-Star team this
He's
year?
had an unbelievable year for Cincinnati. Yeah. Wily old veteran still getting people out.
I know one he didn't get out.
One time.
You faced him a lot.
A lot,
You know,
yeah.
we're talking about Lou. Lou constantly brought him in to face you.
Well, he loved that. He loved matchups late in the game, and Arthur Rhodes was the guy.
Swing and a miss, and Posada down on strikes. This fall, How I Met Your Mother is coming 5 days a week to My 9. It's all about a man that searches to find his future wife and the wild adventures his friends have along the way. It's one of TV's hottest comedies, How I Met Your Mother. Weeknights this fall on My 9. Well, O'Sullivan, who really looked like he was on the verge of getting knocked out of the game in the first inning, has settled down, and now he throws a strike to Granderson.
Mike, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, they had him on the ropes in the first inning to throw up a big, big number. And all of a sudden, now he's throwing everything for strikes. Good changeup, fastball he's starting to paint a little bit with.
He's got a little rhythm going, too. This is where you have to pull out the old hitter's trick. Start stepping out, adjusting your belt.
Granderson was honored today, named the national spokesman for the First Lady's Let's Move campaign. Michelle Obama started a campaign to solve childhood obesity, and Curtis is the national spokesman as he swings and misses. Curtis is great with that stuff. Does whatever is needed when Major League Baseball wants an ambassador, and a great spokesman for anything.
He travels the world in wintertime for Major League Baseball.
I asked him about it once. He said, I'm not married. He goes, now's the time to do it. He said, once you get married and have kids, and he said, I don't think you could just be jetting off to other countries whenever you want.
Yep, plus it's cold in Chicago in the winter.
That's a different kind of cold. That's just not cold.
Payoff. Foul back.
Do you have any foul balls in this booth yet this year?
I don't think so. No. Flaherty caught one in Seattle, and then, I mean, Paul, you would have been embarrassed how he milked it.
Really?
Waving, flexing, pointing down to the Yankee dugout. Oh, it was awful. Driven out the other way, giving chase is Rivera, and he'll make the play for the final out of the inning. How about that for O'Sullivan? He's now retired 11 in a row. We're going to go to the fifth, 4-2 Angels. Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles in America. Drive one at your Tri-State Ford dealer today. Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Howie Kendrick leads off the fifth, and the first pitch is outside of 1-0. Angels were trailing 2-0 after 1, but on the Volvo scoreboard, it's 4-2 now after 4. Kendrick's 0 for 1 with a walk. The 1-0. Driven the other way, giving chase toward the corner and toward the line is Swisher. And he makes the play, 1 down. So 1 away, and that will bring up Abreu. There's Andy Pettitte, very disappointed in having to go on the DL with the groin injury, and might miss 7 starts. Hopefully for him, not much more than that, and the Yankees will replace him in the rotation with Sergio Mitre.
Yankees have only used 6 starting pitchers this year. Mitre made a start for Andy Pettitte earlier this year. Made a couple of starts. Only one team has used fewer starting pitchers. The Rays have used the same 5 pitchers in rotation throughout the year.
I tell you, Mike, if you look at what's going to happen, this is kind of a wake-up call for A.J. Burnett. He's got an opportunity now to really take over and do something, that he knows he can do. He's got great stuff. But now with Andy Pettitte down for a while, I think you'll look back in the 4 or 5 weeks that he's out, and you'll see a string of A.J. Burnett of 5-1, 4-2, something like that. I can really see his year turning around right now.
Now, A.J. Burnett, over the weekend on Saturday, suffered an injury where he let his anger get the better of him. And I relayed the story, but it's better coming from you, Paul. You would get angry if you'd make it out, and Joe Troy pulled you aside. And what did he say to you?
Yeah, he called me in the office. He said, I've been through it. You do anything you need to do, but don't hurt yourself. And he would send you right out of the office. And, I don't think there's been too many players that ever put on a uniform that don't have those times where you get so frustrated, you throw things, you kick things, whatever. But in the thought process is never, don't hurt yourself. But the more you do it, obviously, the more you start to have to watch out that, you do remember that you got to take that field in the next 5 minutes.
How do you gauge that, though, Paul, if you're getting really angry that you just struck out? I mean, you're angry, but are you still rational enough? Well, I can't hurt myself.
No, you really, I tell you what, looking back at it, you really don't. You don't think about anything other than just the frustration of not being able what you want to do as a player for a team. And it just, it's a fine line. There's no doubt about it.
Dave Island on the phone. 81 pitches at this point for Phil Hughes. So Island's going to get somebody up. But you can see that Island not too thrilled the way Phil is pitching. Just read his body language. So Hughes walks Abreu, and that's going to bring up Torrey Hunter, who is 2 for 2. There's a strike. And we'll see Jonathan Albaladeo.
See if they try and stay away from that breaking ball with Torrey Hunter. I mean, he just mashed at his first 2 times up. Pitches out over the plate. The first fastball was in.
Of your friends doing "Let's Go Yankee" chants in here, Mike. Did you hear them?
They're loud, I'll tell you that.
Watch Abreu at first.
Now Abreu goes. The throw to second. Beautiful throw. Nailed it. Great throw by Posada.
Sometimes you get the feeling that a runner's about ready to go, and you can see Abreu trying to get that start. But he's not going to make it this time. Good throw by Posada.
You talked about staying away from the breaking ball to Hunter, and as a base runner, you got to know that. I mean, you guess on pitches, and, if they're pitching a guy all fastball, it's going to be a lot tougher to steal a base.
There's Cano. He's going to let Abreu just slide right into the tag. Plenty of daylight there. He can put it back in the holster now.
And Cano and Abreu were very, very close, so a little laughter between those two. That one's lined to right field, giving chase is Swisher, and he makes the play for the final out of the fifth. At the end of 4.5, we're halfway through. Angels 4, Yankees 2. And it's 4-2, and the scoreboard is brought to you by Volvo. There's more to life than a Volvo. That's why you drive. Volvo for life. Well, we go to the bottom of the fifth. Here's Miranda. There's a strike. At AAA, Miranda 291, 10 home runs in 49 games with Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Those are his numbers with the Yanks. High drive, center field, Hunter. 1 out. Yankees have not had a base runner since the first inning.
Well, Sullivan seems to have the Yankee hitters in between now. The changeup's starting to take effect. And one thing, a changeup, you don't even have to throw it. It's just in the hitter's minds now that he's got one, and a pretty good one.
It's funny how most pitchers find the rhythm by getting ahead with fastballs, and then they mix in their changeups, and he has been completely opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, he got hit hard early in the game by his fastball. He threw nothing but changeups for a couple innings, and then he's gone back to his fastball.
O'Sullivan being talked about a lot, and you see Mike Butcher, his pitching coach, talking about a lot in trade rumors. There's some rumors that the Angels might be interested in the Royals' Alberto Callaspo. But the problem with the Angels this year is they need a first baseman. And there's a great first baseman that's available on the market. That's Prince Fielder of the Brewers. But why would they acquire Prince Fielder when they're going to get back Kendry Morales next year? So they don't want to go that route. Also, they're a little short on prospects. Most of their prospects are in AA and A. Nobody is at AAA where they're ready to roll, where a team's going to want them to make a big trade. So they don't really have the prospects close to the majors to pull that sort of deal. And another thing, I was talking to some Angel people, they said Artie Moreno doesn't just worry about this year. He's worried about 5 years from now And he's not going to trade all of his good prospects to just try to patch up something this season. Yeah, he wants to win, but he's not going to make that sort of move. Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels. 3-1. And Gardner works a walk, so the Yankees finally get a base runner.
Attendance-wise, they're still doing well. So the people, the vibe out there is still good, and the people still expect the Angels to win. But like I said, they're not going to back into it this year. The Texas Rangers are a good team, and they just added a good pitcher to help them throughout this run.
The Angels have been, when you think about the Western Division, they have been the most solid organization for the last few years here. I mean, ever since Mike Scioscia's gotten there.
Here's Jeter, who's 0 for 2. Derek 5 for his last 32. Grounded to short and struck out. Gardner, of course, a threat to steal.
Derek now 150 hits away from 3,000. 2,850 hits.
Derek has 103 hits this year. So if he plays according to the back of his baseball card, he's probably got about 97 more hits this year. So coming into next year, will be about 50 hits away. No Yankee in the illustrious history of the franchise has ever had 3,000 hits.
It's hard to believe when you think about some of the hitters that have, played in Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, the Polo Ground.
There's not that many hitters, period, with 3,000 hits, yeah.
Well, Lou Gehrig, who had the most hits before Derek overtook him, his career tragically shortened. Joe DiMaggio didn't have a very long career with his heel problems. He retired very early. Mickey Mantle, obviously a great hitter, but his legs took away a lot of hits as well. Jeter gets a sign from the third base coach, Rob Thompson, see if anything's on. Is there a sign for, okay, the runner's going, I don't want you to swing?
Well, it's up to the hitter. And most hitters, you learn as you start to play a little bit. With, at the corner of your eye, you'll hear the catcher or somebody saying, and you will take the pitch intentionally.
But there's no take.
There's a take sign. But, yeah, you're never really told as a hitter to take when a guy's running.
Finishing a thought about 3,000 hits. Only 27 players in the history of the game have accumulated 3,000 hits or more.
Being in Cincinnati this week, they had a big tribute to Pete Rose, and they did a big thing that just goes to show you. I mean, he's over 4,000. So the amount of hits and the amount of people that have played this game, and there's so few that have ended up with numbers like that.
Grounded to short. There's one, and there's two. So a 6-6-3 double play to end the fifth. No runs, no hits, no errors, and because of this DP, nobody left on base. We go to the 6, 4-2 Angels. Cadillac dealers. Visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you. Back in 1965, Mel Stoudemire hits an inside-the-park grand slam in a complete game 6-3 victory over the Red Sox. So he needed that grand slam.
You know who he hit it off?
Bill Mamboquette.
You knew it.
Hideki Matsui inside 1-0. Matsui, 2 double plays. So leading off, he can't have 3 and the count 1-1. Famous story about double plays. Joe Torre, when he was with the Mets, hit into 4 double plays in one game. And he blamed Felix Millan for getting on in front of him each time.
Felix's uniform was a little dirty that day, wasn't it?
I guess.
You notice Matsui's batting average started the night at 249. He's not hitting left-handers as well this year as he did last year. Good changeup right there. Only 180 against left-handed. Last year he crushed left-handed pitching. It was if the Yankees wanted the opposing manager to bring a left-hander in to face it.
And a lot of that damage was done with men in scoring position late in games when he'd bring the lefty in for the matchup, and very good in those situations.
Now, there was a great emotional attachment by Yankee fans with both Matsui and with Damon. And in fairness, the Yankees made a baseball judgment call, and you see Scott Shields beginning to throw, that they didn't think Matsui was going to be able to have a really good year with his legs, and that they put a lot of work into getting him on the field. And you know, Matsui's hitting just 248. So is that vindication for them? Well, we'll see how he finishes. And if you look at Johnny Damon's numbers, although he's gotten some big hits for the Tigers, he has not put together a great run-producing year either. Yeah, if you want to criticize the Yankees, I'm sure you'll say, well, Nick Johnson has been hurt, and that's true. But the Yankees also at this point have the best record in baseball, so the decisions they made to this point have certainly worked out. The 3-2, grounded foul.
You know, it's never an easy decision, especially when you've had productive players to say, hey, you know, we're going to cut ties or we're going to go a different direction. But, you know, organizations have to make these decisions to continue to try to win. I mean, when guys get to the point of their career where you don't feel like, you know, you can do better elsewhere, then you have to make those, and they're not always popular decisions.
Well, usually those decisions are made because of the fact these guys have gotten to the point in their career. They're making pretty good money.
Right.
So if you want to lower your payroll, get some younger, and make your team younger, which usually means make it more cost effective, you cut ties with the older players.
See the out-of-town scoreboard rifling through underneath our scoreboard, brought to you by the 2010 Honda Clearance. It's the only thing from Honda that won't last. I think a lot of teams have gone to school on one specific team in a sport, and if you remember, and everybody does, the Boston Celtics of Larry Bird. It's hard to get rid of people that are popular, and they kept McHale, Parrish, and Bird too long, and the Celtics suffered for over a decade as they tried to make up for all that lost time because they got nothing for those players, and they suffered for it. Now, the Yankees in '96 made a very tough decision. They let John Wetland sign somewhere else because they had a guy named Mariano Rivera that was going to close. Those are decisions that, as Paul said, as an organization is going to grow.
It helps when you have somebody to fill that role.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Pretty good guy, too.
Yeah. But there are other teams that make those decisions, and they just hope that the player can come in and fill a role. And a lot of times it doesn't work.
You know, Swisher's had a great year. Brett Gardner's had a great year, and it makes things, you know, more comfortable when the guys that you're counting on, the guys that you're giving those jobs, have good years.
Give you Damon's numbers so far this year with the Tigers: 279, 6 homers, and 29 ribbies. Count 2-1 on Napoli. Matsui leads off first, held there by Teixeira. Hughes closing in on 100 pitches. That one's driven out to right field. Deep, turning, looking is Swisher. See ya. Opposite field home run for Napoli, and the Angels now lead 6-2.
Kenny, you talked about it. I mean, he leads this team in home runs. He's got good power. He's a catcher trade, but they've got him in the lineup filling in from offensively to do this. I mean, he's got great power.
You know what? I wonder how much playing first base might help his stamina during the course of the year. I mean, catching can be a rough haul over the course of a long season. As Phil Hughes gives up another home run here tonight, and Napoli's 17th of the year.
Well, now they're going to go to Albaladeo. They'll take the ball from Hughes. Another shaky outing for the right-hander. Yankees are trailing 6-2. This is Beyond Cable. This is Files. Well, Phil Hughes gives up a home run to Mike Napoli, and that is the 13th home run that Phil Hughes has allowed this year. All of them have come here at Yankee Stadium. Now, the first home run he allowed today, Meister Astores, that was a real stadium home run. That doesn't get out of most parks. Napoli's was a legitimate shot, so they turn it now over to Jonathan Albaladeo, who's been up and down the last couple of years. But look at the numbers in Scranton Wilkes-Barre. 2-1, 31 saves, 0.96, 61 strikeouts in 46 and 2/3 innings. He has 37 base runners in 46 and 2/3, so his whip is well under 1. Those are startlingly good numbers. Can they translate up here?
Check out the size of his glove. I mean, he's big, obviously, but the size of his glove, it looks like he's got his little brother's glove on. So look at that.
You think about Albaladeo in spring training, he had problems getting people out. He was struggling in the spring.
I don't think that glove will even fit on his hand. Look at that.
Looks like a second baseman's glove.
Or a bit. Count 2-0. We're talking about Hughes here at home, and Hughes' ERA at home is 5.22, on the road 2.36. I mean, it can hardly fit his name. It's such a little glove. The 2-0. Looped into right field, coming on Swisher, and he can't make the play. So a base hit for Rivera. He's now 3 for 3.
Towards the end of that play, it looked like that little danger zone where you just start to lose the ball in the lights, and you'll see here in the end, it looks like you just missed it. Every once in a while, you'll see that blind look, but it seems like he didn't come up with this one.
Looking up at the lights there. Here's this Tourist, and the pitch is high. Did you, either of you guys, feel that there was such a huge jump from AAA to the majors? Because why would Albaladeo be so dominant down there, and he's always somewhat struggled up here?
I felt there was when I first got to the big leagues. How many players just actually jump in the big league and start just thumping? You know, not many hitters. And outside of Strasburg, not many pitchers.
I was going to say Strasburg comes to mind, but I mean, I think it's in your head more than anything. But I mean, the ballparks are bigger, the crowds are bigger. You have to deal with those things.
Pitchers are better.
Oh, they're better. But I actually thought that once you got everything together, it's easier to hit here because there are better lights, there's better ballparks.
You get the feel of being a major league player.
Right.
I think in my third year, I really started to come on.
High fly ball, right side. And to Sharon Cano, run out of room. But are the hitters that much better that Albaladeo should be that much different?
Oh, they're better. Yeah, you have to deal with more hitters in the major league lineup than in the AAA. In the AAA lineup, there might be maybe 3, possibly 4 guys who are going to make it to the big leagues, whether they're stars or not. Or they're just going to make it to the big leagues. Each one of these guys is here because they can hit a fastball. And if you put it in the wrong spot, it's going to be hit hard. Some of them aren't going to hit it out of the ballpark, but they're still going to hit it pretty hard. Like it's tourists. You know, it's more like an accidental situation when it's tourists. It's one.
Accidental tourist.
I read that book. It's a good book.
Wow. You threw it way over my head. I didn't even get upstairs. That was impressive. Yeah, I saw the movie.
I guess what I'm saying, and I'm not asking that well, Albaladeo has been almost unhittable at AAA. Should he be that hittable in the big leagues? Is there that much of a difference that 0.9 ERA would be a 4 or a 5 up here?
Well, I mean, opportunity and comfort and everything comes into play. But I think if he gets the opportunity where he becomes comfortable, I mean, he's going to be successful. Is he going to have those kind of numbers? Probably not.
Runner goes. No throw is made as Rivera steals. That one, Albaladeo did not check him back. Albaladeo slow to the plate.
One thing about a big, long delivery is you don't give that catcher much time or even a shot to throw out those base stealers. Wow.
I tell you, the Angels are very aggressive on the bases. If you give them an opportunity to steal, they're going to go. Just about anybody in the lineup. In fact, the only one in the starting lineup tonight without a stolen base is Hideki Matsui. So Mike Scioscia will not hesitate. You saw them tonight. They'll go first to third, better than any team in the league. That's their game.
The 2-2. Swing and a miss. Got him. One away.
His tourist kind of helped him out. Breaking ball that did not quite make it back to the strike zone. He chased it.
Here's Jeff Mathis. He has struck out twice, both against you, so his first at bat against Albaladeo. Lined right at Jeter. That was a breaking ball up in the zone, but Jeter was right there.
You said it, Michael. Breaking ball kind of hung out over the plate. Mathis hit it off the end of the bat, though.
Back to the top of the lineup, and Eric Ibar. Ibar 1 for 3. Grounded to short, double to right, and a fly ball to center. Runner at second with 2 outs. Angels up 6-2. We're in the top of the 6th. Foul ball.
I've watched Ibar over the years. He's improved as a player too. I think he's, one of those second tier like shortstops. Shortstop has gotten to be such an offensive position, but he's a leadoff hitter, and he scores a lot of runs. Got 30 multi-hit games. Very good fielder.
It's so funny you talk about the offensive part of the game. It's shortstop. In the old days, you remember, it was all about what you could do with the glove. And if you hit, it was great. But you were always a 7th or 8th hitter, second baseman, shortstop. But boy, if you could catch the ball in turn 2, that's all that mattered. And the game has progressed where your better offensive players are shortstops now, and even second basemen.
The 1-1. Grounded right back to Alvaladeo. It's stuck in that little glove. And that'll do it. But 2 more runs on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 man left. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Yankees down by 4. Yankees in action on Wednesday afternoon, July 21st. That's tomorrow. The Yankees take on the Angels, and the first 18,000 fans in attendance are going to receive a limited edition Hard Rock Cafe Yankee Stadium collectible pin, courtesy of the Hard Rock Cafe Yankee Stadium. For tickets, log on to Yankees.com. Visit the Yankee Stadium ticket window, Yankees clubhouse shops, or you can call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. Nick Swisher leads off. A first-inning home run for Nick. He's 1 for 2. Other time he flied out to left. The first pitch is outside at 1-0. And a strike.
You remember the days you get through the All-Star break and you come back and you start to look at the schedule, you see your big series, you start to see the end of the season and where you're going to be. You've kind of, in the Yankees case, put yourself in the position to win another division. In the Angels case, you're going to have to battle to try to catch a team. So, this is a time of year where it you start to figure out, what the personality of this team is and what kind of year you're going to have to get there.
Let me ask you this. At the All-Star break, did you ever look at, you go home and maybe get a little break? If you don't make the All-Star team, you say to yourself, man, I better get going in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe just keep doing what I'm doing.
The thing is, though, you could always go home and kind of multiply things by 2 very easily and think, are you going to be happy with that, or do the things need to change,
Ground ball to Kendrick, and Swisher's out for the first out of the 6th. Now, what has this guy done to change his luck from the first inning?
He stayed with his best pitch when he was in trouble with the others. That was a changeup. So now all of a sudden, he's getting his fastball where he wants it a little bit better. So now he has 2 pitches to work with. I haven't seen too many breaking balls.
No.
So it's been fastball, changeup, and he's got the Yankees in the rocking chair. They're in between. Changeup, should I stay back? Fastball, oh, I'm not quick enough. There's a curveball.
It's a curveball for a ball, but he started. You talked about it, Kenny. Like that second, third inning, started getting that good movement on the changeup, where it started fading away from lefties. And you know, he's had counts where he's thrown 3, 4, 5 changeups in a row until he got it down where he could throw it for strikes.
Now, the Yankees might have caught a bad break with Kazmir going on the DL because Kazmir had not been pitching well, and they usually don't fare well against pitchers that they see for the first time. They just don't. They never have over the last couple of years. They are 4-5 this season when facing an opposing starting pitcher for the first time in his career. Strike. Now O'Sullivan can give them some length, dropped by the Angels, because he was starting in the minors this year. So he is stretched out. Former 3rd-round draft pick. There's Kazmir, who was supposed to start, and he's in a lot of the trade discussions, is O'Sullivan, if the Angels want to get something back. That's off of O'Sullivan, and it caroms out to Asturias. And they just get the hustling Teixeira, and you score that 1-5-3. The shift was on, so Asturias was where the shortstop would be.
We talked about it, Kenny, as a hitter. When you hit it back up the middle and it ricochets off the pitcher, you just hope for good things. This is a bad break for Mark Teixeira.
Sometimes as a team, you begin to wonder, is this going to be our night? When things start happening like this. Deflected right to Asturias, who makes a good play throwing on the run. Remember, we said Asturias is more like a shortstop second baseman anyway.
Pretty close there.
Yeah, pretty close.
Hard to see that.
Wait a minute.
Let's see.
He's out. Joe Girardi's out there talking to the first base umpire as if he were safe.
And that's Paul Emmel. And if Joe sees that replay, he'll see that he is likely wrong.
Yeah, he's telling Dreckman to get back behind home plate.
Saying this isn't your fight, get back there. That's right, and I agree with him. There's no reason to, you go out as a manager to argue a call of first base. What, you got a gang up on, get around the manager?
Well, neither one of those umpires are the crew chief, as you can see the balls in Napoli's glove, and Teixeira's not at first.
I think Joe might have gotten thrown out because he did get thrown out. He's handing a lot of cards to Tony Pena. So Joe's going to retreat to the Yankee clubhouse, which is he throws the gun in the direction of home plate, and he will head toward the clubhouse.
Could be a good way to fire up your team.
Geraldo was on.
That was Geraldo Rivera laughing. Alex Rodriguez pops it up and out of play.
But you know what? The team's dead. Offensively, nothing's happening. You get a close play. You go out to just question and argue, and sometimes umpires irritate you. The next thing you know, you've got the home plate umpire over there. He's got no business being out there. And I can see Joe Girardi's point. Mm-hmm. Let me talk to the guy who made the call. Nothing will happen. The next thing you know, you're in a fight with 2 umpires.
High fly ball, shallow right off the bat of A-Rod. Abreu is there, and he'll put it away for the final out of a 1-2-3 inning. O'Sullivan is now retired 17 of 18. Yankees are down 6-2 as we go to the 7th. second run in the 2010 Nautica New York City Triathlon. It takes drive, commitment, and determination to cross the finish line on this 31-mile course. The 2010 Nautica New York City Triathlon, Saturday at 2:30 on our sister station, Fox 5.
Hey, Michael, I'll fill in for you if you want to do that on Saturday. No problem. You got that one?
Will you visit me in the hospital? Now there's Joe talking with Paul Emmel, and then he gets thrown out. Now one thing that the guys were talking about, no manager wants to be ganged up on. The thing that I think that annoyed Joe Girardi is that was the home plate umpire Bruce Dreckman. He's not the crew chief. The crew chief is supposed to be the one to come separate. That's right. Gary Darling, the third base umpire. And I think the Girardi turned around and said, well, what are you doing here? Right,
and I agree with him. But, sometimes you go out to argue, and, so nonchalant. They say, they just give you that look that, it irritates you. And right there, he's saying, go back. Go back to where you belong. You don't need any help out here.
One thing I have noticed, the umpires are in charge of making sure the game moves along quickly. They throw you out a lot faster than they used to. I mean, you barely get something out of your mouth, and you're out of the game.
Takes all the fun out of the arguments, huh?
Manny Acta got thrown out of the game in Cleveland for taking his hat off in the dugout.
Yeah.
One of the umpires saw it and said, threw him out of the game.
Gary Darling, the crew chief, you said it. As soon as you say his name, he threw me out of the game. I wasn't even playing one night. I was on the bench.
So it was just for a crew to...
there was a bunch of screaming in the dugout, so he just assumed it was me and just threw me out of the game.
An excellent assumption.
I didn't even know what was going on.
Friday scoreboard 6-2 Angels over the Yankees, and is brought to you by TGI Fridays.
Well, was it you?
I might have been in the background, but I wasn't the lead singer, I'll tell you that.
You were Pip.
Yeah.
You were on Gladys Knight.
Right.
That one is dunked into right field, but foul. Incidentally, that's Girardi's 9th ejection as Yankee manager, 3rd this season. So it's like O'Sullivan, this was moments ago, being congratulated on a strong 6 innings. And now the Angels will turn it over to their bullpen. Good last-minute fill-in performance for O'Sullivan, replacing the injured Kazmi.
Just look back at that first inning and where he had no control over his changeup, and his fastball was getting hit hard. You just looked like you could have put him away, and it didn't happen. And then he got control of things and shut down the Yankees ever since.
Now this is interesting to have Al Valadeo, came on to get the final 3 outs of the 6th. He was a 1-inning guy down at Scranton Wilkes-Barre, so now they're asking him to get 2 as a closer down at AAA. So asking him to do something that he had not been used to doing. He had some multiple inning appearances. 3-2. Chopped up the middle. Jeter's right there with a nice hop. 1 out. So 1 down, and that'll bring up Abreu.
Ken, you look back at Hughes' performance. Early he gets a lead, and if you could pinpoint one thing, it's just lack of control of his fastball.
Yeah,
he just couldn't find the corner.
Too much play.
Abreu is 0 for 2 with a walk. Abreu, a couple of years ago, took a huge pay cut when he left the Yankees. Took $5 million. He had been making 16 with the Yankees and put together a great season for the Angels. And then they came back and signed him to a 2-year deal this year. And then 2 years, I believe it's $16 million, so $8 million a year. And when you get older, and the market is different for that sort of player now, those are the guys that are going to take the salary hit. They were on the back end of long-term contract where they made a lot of money, and we saw that with Johnny Damon. We saw that with Hideki Matsui.
Doesn't that, the Anaheim area, the laid back, you go to the ballpark, doesn't it kind of fit Bobby Abreu when you look at it? Good solid player, has a good chance to win out there, very laid back. Go to the ballpark, play your game, go home.
I think when you look at Bobby Abreu's career overall, it's somewhat underrated. When you look at his overall numbers offensively and what he's been able to do, I mean, consecutive 100 RBI years, consecutive stolen base years. He's close to a 300 hitter career, I believe. But he's never really had the big 40 home run seasons.
Well, you know what? It's funny because he kind of came on the map. Nobody really knew about him until he won the home run derby in the All-Star game that one year. And then all of a sudden everybody knew him as a home run hitter, and that really isn't his game. I mean, if you look at 15, 18 home runs, but he was an RBI guy. He steals bases. He's in the lineup day in and day out.
And that started the suspicion that the home run derby could really foul up your swing, because he never had as many home runs after that derby. There's a line drive, base hit. Abreu's a 297 lifetime hitter, and that just went up just a little bit with that base hit.
Breaking ball that came back towards the middle of the plate, then maybe a little bit off the end of the bat, but got enough of it to get it over Cano. He's just a good, solid baseball player. Right? Maybe defensively not quite what you would want in right field, although he's won a Gold Glove in the past, I believe.
Well, the one knock against him when he was here and when he was with the Phillies that he shied away from the wall, but I don't know if there are many players out there that love running into walls. Pitches outside.
I didn't, because they weren't padded when I was playing.
I mean, when you hear a comment like that, you wonder what's the alternative? You run through the walls? And I've played with guys that Tracy Jones. I don't know if you remember him in Cincinnati and Seattle. And, I mean, he ran into every wall in the ballpark, even on the way in. Well, he was hurt every day. He was hurt half the year, every year because of it.
It's a thin line. I mean, you want to be aggressive, but you also want to stay in the lineup.
Talk about a guy that ran into a lot of walls. He's at the plate right now, Torrey Hunter. I mean, defensively in Minnesota. I mean, time and time again, and what a great wall that was. It was like a baggie. It was one of the places you could go back and if you weren't in right field, obviously, because those were the bleachers there. But great defensive player in his younger years in Minnesota.
Count 3-0. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Yankees. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. So Alvaladeo running into a little trouble here in the 7th. Runner on first with one out, a 3-0 count on Hunter, and they will turn Hunter loose on 3-0. And I think that's what that conference was between Posada and Alvaladeo. Don't just lay it in there. Throw it with conviction. And there's a strike.
Three-one pitch. Different pitcher here, though. Abreu got caught earlier in the game with Hughes pitching, but Alvaladeo's a lot slower to the plate. 3-1 pitch.
Runner goes. There's a strike. Throw to second. He got him again. Posada guns down Abreu for the second time. And again, Robbie Cano with a little grin, which I'm sure is pleasing Abreu to no end.
It might be one of you again. Takes a glance. Looks like he actually slowed down to get into a slide, and there's the tag.
Stutter stepped, and he looked late, probably to see if the ball was in play, to see if he swung at it, but he did. He took a couple stutter steps right before he got there. Probably cost him a stolen base.
Now, how much do you blame Hunter on that and not swinging at a fastball strike? He's out.
Definitely out at that point, but it's 6-8 feet before the base that he took a couple little stutter steps, and you say, can he kind of slowed down, didn't get into his slide.
I think he was expecting Hunter to put a fastball in play.
You see this? He's going there. He looks, and well, then he almost slows down like he's going to round the bag.
Like he was setting up his slide. Yeah.
Well, now Tony Pena will come out and talk with Albaladeo, and he's going to take the ball from Albaladeo. So the walk to Hunter, the last batter faced by the Yankee right-hander. So Pena, who's acting as manager with Joe Girardi having been tossed out, he will go to the bullpen. Yankees are trailing 6-2, and they're trying to keep it right here on my 9. For the Angels, brought to you by Acela Express, where you can plug in and work or sit back and relax. Book now at Amtrak.com. Eric Ibar with a double. Bobby Abreu has a single. Torrey Hunter is 2 for 3 with a ribby. Mike Napoli, a big 2-run home run. He's 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored. Juan Rivera, 3 for 3. Meiser Asturias with a big home run as well, driven in 3. Jeff Mathis 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Paul saw him. There he is, Geraldo Rivera. And there he is, Hideki Matsui. I also saw in the ballpark earlier Steve Martin.
Excuse me?
Yeah, wild and crazy. Those are the numbers on Park, 2-1, 34 hits in 29 innings. And there's a strike to Matsui. Steve Martin and Lorne Michaels.
Well, of course. Talking about the good old days on Saturday Night Live, huh? You ever go to that show, Michael?
Once. That one is driven deep to right field. Swisher back. He leaps. See ya. 2-run home run for Matsui. And Park, who's having a dreadful season, serves up a blast to Matsui to make it 8-2. Matsui was 0 for 8 against Park before that at bat, but that changed with one swing.
Hideki, his 11th home run of the season. Targets low and away, and pitch was towards the middle. And Hideki knew it. He knows the dimensions. And the Park's not going to hold it.
And the last home run he hit here, much more important last year in the World Series. Let me say his last game, we won the MVP in that last game against Pedro.
Angels flexing their muscles here tonight. That's your 3rd home run.
Well, that certainly gave the Angels bullpen some breathing room. Pitch inside. Hey, there's no other way to put it, but Channel Park has been a huge disappointment for the Yankees. such a weapon for the Phillies out of their bullpen last year. He doesn't throw as hard. He hasn't been able to keep the ball in the ballpark. He's allowed 7 home runs in 29 innings pitched. Count 2-2 to Napoli. And the pitch. Missed inside. Last year as a reliever, Chano Park did not allow a home run in 50 innings pitched. Did he go? Yes, he did. So Napoli strikes out, but 2 runs on 2 hits, no errors, and nobody left at the end of 6.5. It's time for the 7th inning stretch here at Yankee Stadium. The Angels lead 8-2, but we'll stay where we are and honor America in the Bronx.
Please rise and offer a moment of silent prayer as we remember the servicemen and women who are serving our country at home and around the globe. Thank you. Now Kate Smith's rendition of God Bless America.
From the 7th inning on.
Yeah, I remember those days. Troy Percival, boy, he'd come in and you knew what you were getting to, and then all of a sudden he'd throw that little back breaker curveball, but he threw hard.
Rarefied heat, huh?
Ooh.
Friday scoreboard, 8-2 Angels.
There was a glass back, and Kenny, you know what I'm talking about. There's like a plexiglass behind. Well, he threw a pitch behind me, and it hit the plexiglass. And all of a sudden, I heard all this hooting and hollering, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what has this happened? I look over, and Pete Rose was my manager, has a catcher's mask on, telling me to dig in over there. I'm like, yeah.
Look right over your shoulder.
Well, remember that All-Star game? And there's your buddy over your shoulder. But John Kruk went up there, batting, I believe, right-handed with his helmet
around.
back.
Yeah, he threw one behind him, too.
Now, Kenny, you said Nolan made you feel uncomfortable.
Very
Not that
uncomfortable.
12 for 40. That's 300.
Yeah, but still, it was hard-earned.
A 440 on-base percentage.
Yeah, he walked me a few times. I could wait him out. But he also struck me out like 16, 17 times. Oh, 16 times I struck out, so that wasn't the only one, though.
How about this stat? Rafael Palmeiro, who, if it wasn't for the steroid situation, is a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
1 year he played 160 games. The only 2 games he sat out, Randy Johnson's ones.
And it wasn't, I mean, you're talking about now about, fear. It wasn't, it was just that you had a better lineup with your good lefties out of the lineup because you couldn't pick up the ball from it. That's back when he threw high 90s. And you saw that picture of his delivery. It wasn't on top. It was kind of a sidearm slinging motion where you just did not pick it up as a left-handed hitter.
Plus the slider, too, was...
you almost hope he threw you a slider because it wouldn't hurt as much,
3-2. Posada has worked the count against Shields. 1 away. We're in the bottom of the 7th. And the pitch. He walked him. Now, we told you when we showed you the numbers, there are more walks there than there used to be.
That's Mike Scioscia telling Mike Napoli, the first baseman, to play behind Posada.
Number 14, Curtis Granderson. Number 14.
And that's going to bring up Curtis Granderson. Granderson 0 for 2, also had a misplay in center field. And the pitch is high.
I remember when Nolan Ryan struck out his 5,000th hitter, and USA Today listed every batter that he had struck out. And I think it was Claudell Washington most times. 36 times he struck him out. So I didn't feel so bad with 16. But the only hitter that he faced at least 10 times, 10 at-bats without striking out, was Richie Doward, former teammate of mine. And Richie had something like 12, maybe 14 at-bats without striking out. And Richie's quote was, "Well, he can't get me now."
Yeah.
Wasn't strikeout number 5,000 Ricky Henderson?
Yeah, it was. But it wasn't Richie Doward. Richie was known to, he was a tough strikeout. He was tough to strike him out. He made contact. But he hit into a lot of double plays.
Did you talk to Ricky? I saw he was out in Oakland.
Yeah, he was there.
Did you talk to him at all?
No, because he would show up. We were already upstairs getting ready to do the game. The one day he was there pretty early. He came to 2 or 3 of the games.
He doesn't work for the A's organization, does he?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Two-two. Swung on and missed. There's no base open, so Granderson can't go anywhere. He strikes out. Let's check out the Yankees in-game box score, brought to you by Acela Express, where you can plug in and work or sit back and relax. Book now at Amtrak.com. There's only 2 hits in there. This isn't tough to do. A home run by Swisher in the first inning, a double by Alex Rodriguez also in the first inning. The Yankees had their chances in that first inning and couldn't get it done.
You know what? If you would have watched that first inning and left, gone to dinner and come back, you would shake your head and think there's no way. You were thinking the Yankees killed this guy all night.
I was just told that Ricky was a spring training instructor with the A's.
All right. No wonder the A's are stealing more bases.
Which runs contrary to the
Billy Ball?
The religion of Billy Ball, yeah. Not Billy Ball, but
Moneyball.
Moneyball.
They're also bunting more, too.
Yeah.
Bunting and stealing a little bit more. This has been one of those no-contact innings for Shields. A couple of strikeouts and a walk. You know, one reason I always felt he was difficult to hit, you see that turn that he has?
Hides the ball.
You can read his name if you're a hitter. Really has that big, and if somebody gets on, I mean, it's pretty easy to steal on the way he delivers, but the fact is that really hides the ball well.
The 1-2.
Well, the ball just seems to get up on you, right? And he kind of hides it even more so because it brings his arm back over here before he delivers. Watch him drop the arm down.
Put a lot of appearances in the last 4 or 5 years for the Angels.
Yeah, and I think the wear and tear, especially last year, is starting to get to him.
Last year, just 20 games because of left knee patella tendonitis. And that required season-ending surgery, so it was his knee that gave out. In his career, the Yankees hit only .218 against him as a team. Sports Illustrated selected him as setup man of the decade. Now, I guess they said a balk.
A balk?
And that allows Posada to go to second. Now, Mike Scioscia is going to talk things over with Gary Darling. And they want to talk with the home plate umpire.
That'd be a balk.
So it is a balk, and Scioscia wants to know, what did he do?
Now let's see what happens here. Let's see if he touches the. Yep, you touch the ball with your mask, the runner's going to get a base. You can't use your mask.
And that was it.
And I would believe he'd be charged with an error. You can't use the mask to help you pick up the ball, or your helmet, or anything like that. It has to be the glove.
There was no error on the board. Let's see if the A's can take advantage. And they do, but let's see if Posada can score. Abreu has a good arm. They're going to hold Posada right there. So a base hit for Miranda.
Yeah, the key to that play where he uses mask is you see ball kind of hangs out of it. Shield had a sharp slider. In the last couple of years, you see that he's starting to hang that ball a little bit more, and you talk about the wear and tear. But the key to that play before was if the ball was caught in front of the catcher, and if you wait till the umpire gives you timeout, then it's no big deal. But Kenny, you said is you hit that ball with your mask before the umpire grants you timeout, you get second base. See, basically the play's over right there.
And it wasn't the home plate umpire who called it. It was Gary Darling, the third base umpire, who called it.
And the umpire is going to call timeout there to give you a new ball because the ball's in the dirt, but you have to wait till you hear that timeout.
So Darling is the crew chief. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, comes out and talks with Scott Shields, and now a big at bat for Brett Gardner as the Yankees try to climb back in this game. Gardner today is 0 for 1 with a walk. Posada's at third. Miranda is at first. 2 men out. Bottom of the 7th. The Yankees down by 6. And there's a strike. The 0-1. 0-2.
Nothing fancy here, just a couple of heaters.
You talk about that sharp slider. You get ahead with that fastball. Now you expect that sharp slider down and in off the plate. Be careful though with a man on third base.
Now, this is what Gardner's done so well this year and just spoiled 2-strike pitches. In fact, he has 50 2-strike hits this year. So, being in an 0-2 hole, he does not get flustered and seems to make the pitcher work even harder.
Yeah, 50 of his 86 hits total with 2 strikes.
One-two count on Gardner. He still hits 254 after falling behind in the count 0-2, and that's a very high number at 0-2. The 1-2 is grounded toward first, fielded there by Napoli, and that's going to do it. So the Yankee threat goes by the boards. No runs a hit, no errors, and 2 men left on base. We go to the 8th, 8-2. Acura Advance. Verizon Wireless. Own the airwaves. The signal is yours. Verizon. Rule the air. And by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers, visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you. Well, we go to the 8th inning. Yankees are down 8-2. Bottom third of the order against Chan Ho Park. 12 hits for the Angels, just 3 for the Yanks. Rivera 3 for 3. How's this for an odd stat? And I never would have thought it. This is the Angels' second trip into New York. So they'll play the Yankees twice, and that's rare for a West Coast team or an East Coast team to face a West Coast team twice as well in their home park. There's a fly ball to center. The Angels will travel the most miles this year of any team in baseball. They're going to travel 50,509 miles this year. Now, which team do you think will fly the fewest?
Ooh. Be Kansas City or Chicago. They're in the middle of the country, right?
Well, O'Neill came armed today.
Huh?
The Chicago White Sox with 22,832.
I was going to say St. Louis.
It would have been in the middle. Well, usually it's always Seattle because they're so far away from their closest trip is 2.5 hours.
Hour and a half to Oakland. Because I was
is it that? Yeah.
I was just on that.
Yeah, you missed that one.
Missed that one. O'Neill, don't get on me about schedules.
Yeah, but I can get it on the computer now, so I can stay right up to date.
So which team had what was the mileage on the
50,000 for the Angels, 22 for the White Sox.
22,000 for the White Sox?
Yeah.
What are they playing? After all the games in Chicago?
I guess.
Wow.
I'm telling you, you guys lived it. That takes something out of you flying
no
that
doubt
much.
about it.
Yeah,
you know what? Even during the NBA playoffs, I kept thinking of that trip from L.A. to Boston. I mean, those are long trips, and they take a lot out of you.
Nice play by Teixeira for the second out.
That was half a life ago. I was a very young man. You could do it.
Well, Michael, you remember, I mean, the one we were supposed to clinch that night. Roger Clemens was throwing here against Oakland. Game 4, we ended up losing that game. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. We flew all night and played that next day, Game 5. And, you know, it was a semi-day game. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, luckily we came out and scored a lot of runs early. Those are, I mean, fun days to look back at. But, you know, they put your body through something.
Out-of-town scoreboard that you're looking at brought to you by Suzuki and the amazing new Kazashi midsize sports sedan. That's the Oakland series you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, remember, the Yankees got in, I believe, at 7 in the morning. And
I know it was light.
Yeah.
I know it was light.
And the Yankees scored 6 runs in the first inning, if you remember.
Yeah. I remember well. I knew we scored a bunt. I didn't know how many it was. It was off Gil Heredia. How's that, Michael?
They're very good.
There's nothing worse than walking into a hotel, getting into a city, and it's bright out. You know the sun has already come up.
Line drive, foul. The thing that I remember most about that, you guys got in at 6 or 7 in the morning. And right next to the hotel in San Francisco is a Carl's Jr. And all these finely tuned athletes went and got double cheeseburgers for breakfast.
You were right along with them? Is that why you remember that?
No, finely tuned. I didn't fit into that.
Or you get into a city and the newspaper's already in front of your room.
When USA Today's there, that's not good.
Yeah.
Now, the one time I do remember that is when we won 1996. We all got in cars after the celebration at the ballpark, and we went to the plaza. All the players got together, and somebody handed me a paper right when I got out of the car, and it already said World Champs on it, and it was already out. I mean, was that awesome?
Oh, that's foul out of play. Three home runs for the Angels, and the Angels lead the Yankees 8-2. And that Game 5 we're talking about in Oakland, the 6 runs in the first inning held up as the Yankees won that game 7-5. Swing and a miss, and Mathis down on strikes on the off speed. So Chan Ho Park works a 1-2-3 inning. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 8-2 Angels over the Yankees on My 9. It's Francisco Rodriguez, same name but not the nickname. 20 games, 19 hits in 22 innings, 23 strikeouts.
Although he might become K-Rod with 23 strikeouts in 22 innings.
For a while there, when he first started the season, they actually did call him K-Rod, and then they said that it was unfair to compare him to K-Rod, who had a great career and has the American League record with 62 saves. So he's back to just Francisco Rodriguez, and he will face the top of the Yankee order. Derek Jeter, Nick Swisher, and Mark Teixeira. Jeter tonight is 0 for 3, grounded to short, struck out, and then wrapped into a 6-6-3 double play. Jeter swings at the first pitch and fouls it back. Is there ever a time when a player or a team, they're down, things aren't going well, that in their head they go, you know what, this isn't our night, we're not going to win?
Well, you try to put that out of your mind, but there are days, sure, when you're looking at the scoreboard and think, this isn't our night, but you still, like in Derek's case right here, you haven't had great at-bats tonight, so you battle to have a good at-bat your last time up to try to take it into tomorrow.
Oh, what a play by Ibar. And he took a base hit away from Jeter. That's a great play by Eric Ibar.
I always, to your point, Michael, I always feel like today, today leads to tomorrow, and if you end up, with a couple good at-bats, you usually take those into tomorrow. Good play up the middle.
Yeah, that's why I always felt, even if you were down by plenty on the scoreboard, if you score a few runs in the late innings, it's almost like a primer for the next day.
Right.
And there's Ibar. I talked about the fact he's a pretty darn good shortstop, and particularly on the defensive end, although he adds something on the offensive side. He leads the Angels in runs scored, and he can play a pretty darn good shortstop.
Here's Nick Swisher. Yankees scored both of their runs in the first inning, and Nick Swisher started it with a home run. Pitch inside. Along with Ken Singleton and Paul O'Neill, I'm Michael Kay. You're watching Yankees baseball here on My 9. The Angels lead 8-2, first game of a 2-game set. And the 0-1. 0-2.
Didn't look like a single swing there, did it?
No.
fastball down Broadway.
Too bad he was on 8th Avenue.
Still behind.
Always felt you have that one hit going into your last at bat, and to have a good night, you got to have that second hit, that multi-hit game.
So I was traveling today, Mike. I know on your radio show today. What's going on?
Oh, a lot.
Important stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Big stuff.
Big stuff.
I'm sure Andy Pettit was a big talk on your show today, huh?
Andy Pettit was.
The fans panicking?
No. I think Met fans are panicking with Mike Pelfrey pitching the way he did, and the way that K-Rod is pitching. Want to remind everybody tonight after the game, Curtis Granderson on his first year in pinstripes and how being a Yankee has changed his view of baseball tonight on the Verizon Fios game wrap-up on My 9 News. There's Mark Teixeira. The shift is on. 3 infielders on the right side. And the pitch outside, 1-0. I want your take on this, O'Neill. Talk about Showboat. Now, if I did this, you'd be all over me. This was in Seattle.
Oh, this is a foul ball. Okay.
That's Flaherty, right? Almost knocks over Lorenz. And then look, he's milking it.
Yeah, he was proud of himself, wasn't he?
He's a major league player. Guy had a lot of years in the big leagues.
He didn't have his leather on, though. When you're barehanded, I guess it's a little different.
Would you act like that? I know Kenny wouldn't. Okay.
I'm not catching those anymore.
Here's a 3-0 to Teixeira. And he walks on 4 pitches, and that'll give an AB to Alex Rodriguez.
By the way, Mathis did get an error for using his mask.
You get an error for using your equipment. I guess they don't consider a glove your equipment. Watch the push on Lorenz. Yeah. This is what's key. Pushes Lorenz out of the way and then almost hits him when he raises a hand up in the air, too. Very, very sad. Here's Alex. 2 home runs away from 600. And there's a strike.
He didn't look good in 3D, too.
Alex tonight, double to right center, grounded to first, and fly to right. The 0-1. 0-2.
Are you a 3D fan? You got to wear glasses when you watch.
I don't like wearing glasses to see 3D. When they figure that out, then I'm going to sign up for it.
So you want a little screen over the screen
like
that makes
Winky
it
Dink.
look.
Remember Winky Dink when we were kids?
Not really. Who the heck is Winky Dink? Huh? You kidding me?
I remember Winky Dink.
Oh, you do, right?
Yeah. Winky Dink and you.
Oh my goodness. I was like watching Gilligan's Island. So who's Winky Dink?
Now, Gilligan's
Winky
Island.
Dink didn't make it to Ohio? You used to put a glass over Winky Dink, and then you could draw on the TV screen and everything.
It was like a plastic screen. Yeah.
Wow. Winky Dink.
I thought like I Dream of Jeannie was cool or something, with this colored smoke, but Winky Dink, man.
The 1-2. Outside 2-2.
I had it, Michael. Did you have it?
I did not have Winky Dink. I used to get in trouble because I would draw on the regular TV screen.
Wow.
You had a Winky Dink, Kenny?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
All right, I'm out of this conversation here.
I can't quite remember the price, but you write in and you get one.
The 2-2. Hot shot. A base hit for Alex Rodriguez. Teixeira is going to go to third. A-Rod picks up his second hit of the night.
Talked about it. You just keep battling. You keep battling. Alex has used right field well today. Another breaking ball. All of a sudden, you know, you're a home run away from being back in the game.
Here's your 2-hit night, too.
And it's his 30th multi-hit game of the year.
So Rodriguez gets a hit off Rodriguez.
Cano was intentionally walked in the first, and that's a move that paid off for the Angels. Then he flied out to center and struck out. Inside. Sean O'Sullivan started for the Angels. Then Scott Shields. And now Francisco Rodriguez. Two-0 pitch. About to be delivered. Ooh, right by him. Just 89 miles an hour, but went upstairs with it, 2-1.
And you know as well as I do, when you get a home run in your mind, that looks like Robbie, that, you know, is going to take a shot there. That, you know, you kind of pull the bat through the zone. Everything slows down. An 89-mile fastball will get by you.
That one is surged into left field, giving chase Rivera. He's there, and he makes the play. So the Yankees threaten, but don't get it done. No runs a hit, no errors, and 2 men left. We go to the 9th. All Angels 8-2. Had an opportunity there, and Cano hit the ball hard, but right at Juan Rivera. So there's a new pitcher for the Yankees, and it is Chad Godin. 4th pitcher, Phil Hughes, started. Didn't have great stuff, gave up 3 home runs. 2 home runs. Jonathan Albaladeo, and then Channel Park gave up the other homer. So the Yankees are behind the 8 ball right now as they trail 8-2, and certainly running out of time here. Godin will face the top of the Angel order. Now, the Angels have been really bad on the road of late. They've lost 7 of their last 8 games on the road. And in July, 6-9. So they put together a pretty good game so far.
We talked earlier in the game how this, these next 2 weeks could really make or break their season. They go straight on to Texas after playing the Yankees here. And then, didn't you say, Kenny, they went to Boston and played Texas again?
No, they come home and then they play Boston and Texas again.
Yeah.
So
tough couple of weeks, but again, if you get things in order and you get some good pitching and your offense gets hot, it's a great time to make up ground on a team that's ahead of you.
I also think there has to be something that's said for the fact that they know how to win and they expect to win. And the Texas Rangers haven't won in a long time. Are they going to start playing baseball looking in the rearview mirror?
Not tonight.
Texas is
they won.
Is that 8-0?
8-0
over Detroit. And they won a 14-inning game last night against Detroit. Tampa Bay leads Baltimore 9-7. That's the top of the 9th inning. So if those scores hold up, then the lead is suddenly a game and a half again. Grounded to Jeter. He charges. Ibar not really busting it out of the box. He's out for the first out. Now the Yankees lose this game. This is a strange stat. Last year, home field advantage was very, very obvious for the Yankees. And at the beginning of this season, their first 30 games, they were 23-7 at home. And if they lose this game, they're 7-8 in their last 15 games here at the stadium. So a little bit different. Howie Kendrick takes on.
Give me your take on the home field advantage with the All-Star game.
I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, if it's that important, then fans shouldn't vote the starting lineups. I don't think you'd have a fan vote the starting lineup for the 7th game of the World Series.
What do you think, Ken?
I know they want to get the fans involved, but I kind of agree with Michael, because if it is that important, and to have that extra game at home and it comes down to the 7th game, I mean, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it should be decided by the best record of the 2 teams, but they say that's logistically tough to do. They do it in basketball. The 1-1. Hot shot off the glove of Jeter. That ate him up. That's going to be a base hit for Kendrick.
It was almost a given. Kendrick's numbers are so good. He was 0 for going into that bat. Figures in, again, got an in-between hop. Kind of sit back and hope he can Olay it. Went off his wrist.
Bobby Abreu, 1 for 3. He's been caught stealing twice. And the pitch by Godin is low, 1-0. What do you think about it, Paul? Do you like the All-Star game to decide home field advantage?
Well, I like that they tried to make the game something again, but I think it only counts for a couple teams, obviously. So I don't think that people from the Kansas City Royals or teams that have no chance of going to the World Series take anything into the All-Star game that they would have with nothing on the line. So. And I do agree that, if you have that home field advantage, it makes a huge, big difference. You look back at the World Series that we lost in Arizona. I mean, home field advantage was everything in that series. So that makes the series.
And the 2 World Series that the Minnesota Twins won in '87-91, it was all home field advantage.
Right.
And that's the years when they just alternated. The 2-1. And I hate to say this because no one loves the game of baseball more than me, or I guess obviously as much, but the All-Star game had the lowest ratings of all time. So this time it counts really doesn't make that much of a difference. I think people are going to watch it. They're going to watch. It had high ratings in New York because a lot of the Yankees were there, and
right.
Joe Girardi managed the team. But around the country, it was very low-rated All-Star game.
I think if you get to the rating of the All-Star game, and Kenny, I'm sure you were the same way. When I remember the All-Star game as a little kid, it was the first time I got to see some All-Star players that you would never see during the year.
From the other league. Yeah.
And now with all the games on TV and everything, you know, you're used to seeing it. You watch them on the highlights and everything, and it's just not, you know, as big a thing.
Runner goes and a walk to Abreu. Boy, Paul, I agree with you. All the games are on TV somewhere. And if you have the package, you can see every single game. And then with interleague play, the novelty of the American League play in the National League is worn off as well. It's almost like you're hurting the All-Star game with all the other things that are helping the sport. I think interleague play has helped the sport.
See, so that's maybe the reason why they tried to pump it up a little more by saying the fact that it really means something for home field advantage. You know, grow up in New York, though, we got a chance to see both leagues. So you get to see all the players.
Here's Torrey Hunter, first and second. And the pitch outside. Angels have pounded out 13 hits against 4 Yankee pitchers. If this score holds up, Phil Hughes will suffer his 3rd loss of the year against 11 wins. Pitch inside. They did not pay for those tickets.
Just checking out the lawn out there.
Love pigeons. They have that strut, you know.
Yeah, they are a little cocky.
Very cocky.
Yeah, when they put up your statue, Mike, you're not going to like them.
That's a good point.
When they put up my statue, I'm not going to know. I don't think there's a statue forthcoming with you. 3-0 count to Hunter. And Godin lays it in there for a strike. Crowd of 47,775 here at the ballpark, but many have left. Not that the game's out of hand. Saints run deficit is certainly not an undoable thing, but it's unlikely. And the count 3-2. Three-two, missed outside, and the bases are loaded. So a single off the arm of Jeter and 2 walks have loaded the bases for the Angels, and that's going to bring up Matsui.
Went with the slider and missed outside. Now all of a sudden you're in a bases loaded jam, 1 out. An old fan favorite here, Hideki Matsui coming to the plate. We went over it. I mean, years in the past, these were his best at bats. Knows how to drive in runs, knows how to get balls to the outfield when he needs to.
You know, one thing he did with the Angels this year, same thing he did with the Yankees. His first game in an Angel uniform, he hit a home run. Made his presence known right away.
He's always had a flair for the dramatic. His first game with the Yankees, a grand slam. Then the games that were played in Tokyo, he hit a home run there. And that's what he does with the bases loaded. 6 grand slams in his career. Godin will work from the windup with the bases loaded and the 0-1. Count 1-1. Godin has not pitched since the 17th, so it's not that long of a layoff, just 3 days. That was against Tampa Bay on Saturday.
You know, when you think about what's gone on tonight, the Yankees were coming off a big win on Sunday, even though Andy Pettitte was lost in the game. They've won 2 out of 3 from the Rays, their closest pursuer. And sometimes you get what I think is an ill-time off day. You understand what I mean? It kind of stops the momentum. And And they just were coming off the All-Star break where everybody got a break anyway. So maybe the off day on Monday or yesterday was not the best thing for the Yankees.
Well, Godin can't throw strikes right now. Count 3-1.
I never remember having that 4-day off All-Star break, the Thursday off, and then having the following Monday off also.
Yeah, that's
a lot of days off in between a couple series.
The Yankees actually came out here early today and had an early batting practice before the regular one. And just about everybody on the team was here. I don't know if it was mandatory or not, but everybody was out there early today.
3-1. Looped into center field. Coming on Granderson. He'll make the catch. Tagging is Kendrick, but he just draws the throw. Got past Posada, but backing up Godin.
You know, if that's a tie game, you probably send it. If you're the third base coach, you know, you have to keep into consideration, you know, what you're sending the player into. That was going to be a close play, but chances are he's going to score in a one-run game, a tie game. I guarantee he sends him. But, you know, you're up 6 runs. There's no reason to have a bang-bang play or a collision at the plate.
And here is Napoli. Quick note that George Steinbrenner was honored again today on Randall's Island at the Videro Baseball Tournament. Team by the name of Hank's Yanks, sponsored by a couple of Yankees and also Hank Steinbrenner. 15 to 18-year-olds, and they were told stories about George Steinbrenner by Roy White and Darryl Strawberry. Moment of silence as well. And Hank's Yanks are 15-1, and the kids come from all walks of life throughout the city. Wow, that's a nice thing. The 2-0 to Napoli. Hot shot up the middle, a base hit. That is going to score 2. As Granderson comes up throwing, ball cut off. A 2-run single for Napoli, who's having a big night. 3 hits for him and 4 runs batted in, and the Angels now lead 10-2.
2-run homer for Napoli, and now a 2-run single. And this was, inner third, and he turned. Watch the hips fly open. Bat come through quickly. Not much chance for Jeter on the one hopper through the infield. And, of course, with the crack of the bat and 2 outs, the runners are off and running.
Rivera takes a pitch outside, 1-0. We always talk about how the Angels were the one team that had a winning record against the Yankees during Joe Torre's 12 years. But of late, it hasn't been that great, especially here in the Bronx. The Angels 2-10 in their last 12 starts here in the Bronx. But that is looking like it might change as Rivera grounds out the short to end the inning. 2 more runs on 2 hits and 2 men left. Last licks coming up for the Yankees. They are trailing by 8. and stripes. And now, how being a Yankee has changed his view of baseball. Tonight on the Verizon Fios game wrap-up on My 9 News. It comes down to the bottom of the ninth inning for the Yankees. This has not been a great game for them. They are down 10-2. The Angels have pounded out 14 hits to the Yankees 4. And now it'll be Posada, Granderson, and Miranda against the new pitcher, and that is Trevor Bell. The numbers are not good on Bell. 28 hits in 18 and a third innings. 32 base runners in 18 innings. So they're going to pinch hit for Posada. And it's going to be Colin Curtis. And there's a new center fielder for the Angels. Reggie Willits takes over for Torrey Hunter. So Colin Curtis takes the pitch outside, 1-0. Couple of changes for the Angels. We'll give it to you as we move along. In addition to Willits out in center, you've got Brandon Wood at third and Kevin Franson at second. So those are your changes. And as we mentioned, Curtis pinch hitting for Posada.
Well, you boys are busy in your books over here. Changes, all kind of things going on.
Oh, well, a lot of this is because there's a day game tomorrow.
Ah, get warmed up.
Well, they give the veterans a chance to.
Well, I was talking about your stuff up here. Teams down.
Count 2-2. The Tampa Bay Rays have just been tied by the Baltimore Orioles 9-9 in the bottom of the ninth inning. Curtis fouls it away.
Does this mean Soriano blew a save?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
The 2-2. Hot shot up the middle and a base hit for Colin Curtis.
Here's a look at Colin Curtis. He's done a pretty good job off the bench for the Yankees this year. As he picks up a hit.
Kenny, I don't know if
there's a strike.
Ever were in a position where you were a bench player at all, but those hits to a bench player are so much more important than the guys that get to go out there every single day and get their 4 or 5 at bats.
Like finding gold.
You don't know when that next one's coming. It might be next week, next month.
The 0-2. That one is drilled to right field. Giving chase Abreu, he makes the play. So Granderson is 0 for 4. And he hit the ball hard then, but Abreu ran it down. Here's Juan Miranda. Count 1-0.
Kenny, you know what's going to happen now that Andy Pettit's out. You know, every time a pitcher takes the mound and they don't throw the way they're supposed to, you know, it's going to be magnified a little bit because you don't know what you're going to get in Mitre coming back. And, you know, Hughes has been so good record-wise, 11-2 going into this game. Then all of a sudden, you know, it's going to put a little more pressure on people because, you know, one of your big guns is out of the lineup.
Yeah, I think at the All-Star break, the Yankees bullpen had thrown the fewest innings in the league because the starters were so good getting deep into games. And now, you're right, missing Andy Pettitte is a pitcher who you're used to seeing 7 innings out of.
Right.
So all of a sudden, the bullpen is in play a little bit more. You can't expect Mitre to come out right away and give you 7, 8 innings. I mean, he's just not stretched out enough.
I truly do believe, though, that this is going to be the stretch that they look back that A.J. Burnett really takes advantage of. And they'll have 4, 5, 6 good starts.
That one is drilled to center field. Willett's got a late jump, and he recovers. No, he dropped the ball. Colin Curtis held up, and he advances to second. Willett's turned one way, then another. Looked like he recovered, but couldn't hold on. We'll see how they score that for Miranda.
Every once in a while, as an outfielder, you kind of get your feet tangled up. You turn the wrong way. From our angle, originally, it looked like he had it in his glove, but he didn't.
That ball was scalded.
Yeah, it was hit hard. That ball that is over your head, line drive as a center fielder, the toughest play to make because you don't have time. You know, your first reaction you see is turning back the other way. You turn wrong on the ball to start with, and that you just don't have enough time to react and get back to where you should be.
And he scored a hit. Miranda has his second hit. Everything this inning's been hit pretty well off Trevor Bell.
Well, he brought in some stats that Michael went over to start the inning that he's given up some hits this year.
The 1-1. Foul back.
Good swing.
Talk about tomorrow's game, and Kenny, we talked a little bit before the game. Joel Pinheiro starting for the Angels tomorrow. Been one of the hotter pitchers on their team.
One of the hottest pitchers in the league.
Right.
I mean, he's really throwing the ball well.
Grounded to third. Brandon Wood Fields fires across the diamond, but not nearly in time. And the Yankees are going to be down to their final out.
Every once in a while you do something as a player and you figure in your mind there's a clock. You know, you run to third, you got to force out, and then you forget that Brett Gardner's running. You absolutely have no chance to double him up.
You think, oh, time has run out. Can't get him.
So Ramiro Pena will pinch hit for Derek Jeter. Derek 0 for 4 tonight. So they've got Miranda at second and Gardner is at first.
Outside of the first inning in this game, it hasn't been much to cheer about for the Yankees and their fans.
10-2, Angels lead. And that one is off the glove of Mathis. Goes to the backstop, and the runners move up on the wild pitch.
Just takes off, you know, as a catcher, you're in that squatting position. A lot of times you don't have time to react and get up to that ball, that high pitch.
Well, Mike Butcher decides to take a trip to the mound with an 8-run lead. And this trip, I assume this trip is not for tonight. This trip is to straighten things out for the next time he's used. and they'll just talk things through out there on the mound. So now the count 2-0 on Pena. The pitch. This should do it. Popped up. And Ibar makes the play. And an ugly game and a long night for the Yankees has ended. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base in the ninth. And the Yankees start this 2-game set with a loss. They fall to the Angels 10-2. We got a couple of awards to give out, even in a losing cause. So we're going to come back here on My 9. You stay where you are. Again, the Yankees lose to the Angels on this Tuesday evening in New York City, 10-2.